Hello, it's August 17th, and we're here for another episode of the Level 1 News. Today we're doing government and security. And that awkward pause you just heard was us pausing for the air conditioner. So we can scrub that out.
We'd hit 30 seconds, and I was like, okay, 32, 33.
Yeah, we're still going.
But I realized that you can't see that.
I can't see that. No, it's too far away.
You can't. No, it's not that it's too far away, Kristen. That's not the problem.
It's too far away.
That's not it.
Well, let's talk about some. You didn't even tell us what we're getting into here, Kristen.
Yeah.
This is the San Pellegrino. So I got a case of San Pellegrino. I think this is the one that I had before, but it's really good. It's been a long week.
You really pronounce that orange name?
Aranciata.
That
would be my guess.
Yeah.
The blood orange. I do have the blood orange. So somebody sent me the sampler. There's like 30 cans in this case of San Pellegrino. It wouldn't all fit in the fridge.
Now, you said you've tried a couple of them, right?
Yes.
How different are they?
They're very different.
Really?
It's the spectrum from like lemon. There's like 2 or 3 lemon varieties, I guess. And then this one. And then there's a blood orange variety as well, which everybody has been saying I got to try the blood orange one.
Let's say I give you 2 of the regular oranges side by side. Could you tell them apart?
No.
No?
I don't think so.
Okay.
What do you mean?
I'm just wondering how distinct the orange flavor is.
Oh, this is the overall distinct flavor of this or the overall flavor of this is very distinct. With 19% orange juice, and yet this it has a strong taste, but it doesn't have a strong orange juice taste like some of the other ones.
Now I remember whatever the last orange one you tried. You've tried a San Pellegrino. That got high marks.
Yeah, this is like an A plus. It's also 120 calories. So I'm going to be extra peppy for the news, I guess.
Is it sugary?
Or is
that just the juice?
To be 120 calories, it doesn't taste sugary, but sugar is the number 2 ingredient ahead of orange juice concentrate.
Oh, but that's real sugar, huh?
Yeah, I guess.
Nice.
Well, I don't know. I think the USDA okayed calling high fructose corn syrup sugar.
Really?
Which is unfortunate.
That seems counter to the public interest.
I wonder who got bribed for that.
They added extra citric acid, but yeah, San Pellegrino really, it feels very, very high end. I don't know what it is.
It's pricey, isn't it?
Is it?
I think so.
I wouldn't know.
Everyone sends it.
Everyone has been very kind in supporting us, so thank you.
I don't remember what I paid for that little package I bought, but it's over there in the fancy section. I'll say that. Well, you got to give it a letter grade and a venue. I don't think you gave the last one a venue.
Product of Italy. Oh, it's 120 degrees there last week. That's
You think that'll hurt the orange harvest?
That's bad. I would drink this after a very hard week where I'm just sort of tired of everything.
Would you drink it if you'd so it's the end of the week and you're out of energy, but you need to go to the Green Pass protest?
Yeah, this would be a good choice.
Would you blast one of those?
That would be a good choice.
They're doing a lot of that over there. Well, when we're not talking about oranges, we like to talk about tech news. And let's talk about some government and security tech news. And there's a lot of money floating around up there in Washington, and they're just dying to give it out.
The DoD has awarded a $1 billion contract to Peraton to counter misinformation. Now, you read this, and it's like, that's not horrifying at all. And then you read it, and it's like, well, okay. It's to counter misinformation from foreign governments about this, that, or the other.
Are you sure they're going to limit it to that?
No.
I was going to say, why would they contract it out if they weren't trying to get around some sort of loophole law?
Yeah, I kind of doubt it. They there was a quote in there, something about, like, the narrative and disinformation and all that stuff. And it's like, well, that's really just your narrative, isn't it?
Yeah. Remember when it was the Department of War?
Yeah, we don't say that anymore.
We don't.
It's not palatable to the American public.
Because, all those defense events that happen on the mainland. Oh, wait.
Shell shock to post-traumatic stress disorder.
So they're not new, though. We've been giving them money for a long time, and they've been doing this for a while, just in some other venues. Some of the other government agencies have already hired them to do other stuff. That's a lot of money. And the lawmakers, they definitely picked the headlines, the tech headlines, more than ever, and used them to immediately go into some sort of bill or something. I think that's exactly what this is.
Reuters reports U.S. lawmakers introduced bill to rein in Apple and Google app stores. I everybody's writing this up. I think everybody's missing the mark. Look, if you want to, they're basically saying that it's predatory for Apple and Google to get involved in the transactions between developers and their customers. But none of the language of the bill and none of this stuff really faces it head on. It's like everybody's afraid to call it what it is, which is like, if I have a customer and the customer wants to do business with me, they should be able to directly do business with me. Could there possibly be anything more American than that level of entrepreneurship?
Okay, here, I'm going to make an argument. I'm going to devil's advocate this. Is it okay if I bring my McDonald's into your Subway and eat it?
I wouldn't care if I was an employee at one.
But some people really do care about that.
Yeah, some people really see it that way. And that's a little different. That's kind of a lot different. But yeah, it's like I've committed to Subway. And because I've committed to Subway, Subway does not want me eating anywhere else. They would rather that I starve than eat anywhere else because I've committed to Subway.
And let me tell you, if Subway could figure that out, they would absolutely try to do that.
Eating their not tuna products.
It's not unprecedented. I mean, we had the first sale doctrine laws come about because book publishers were doing this kind of thing. So this is not really anything new. It's just, the old thing with computers.
And it is a little different, I will admit, because in that analogy, Subway's not trying to take a piece of your McDonald's order that you paid, right? Like, there's not a corking fee.
Yeah.
At the Subway.
Thanks for the fries, bro. And just takes them out of your bag.
Basically, that's what we're talking about here. So, yeah, they're saying that the payment system should not be part of the ecosystem. You should be able to pay however you want.
Yeah, well, it's okay for the payment system to be part of the ecosystem, but
not
you
the
should be able
one.
to have as many as you want.
And we also have a follow-up from a headline last week, if you remember, that Facebook, they had this group of researchers, and they had this pretty impressive browser plugin that was measuring the things that Facebook wouldn't let them look at by letting, the crowdsourcing the information. Facebook, not a fan, and shut them right down. So some lawmakers said, wait a minute.
TechCrunch says, senators press Facebook for answers about why it cut off misinformation researchers. So one of the components of the research, which is really, I think, pretty damning for what Facebook is doing here, was the researchers were screen scraping volunteers. It was like, hey, you want to help us research? We're going to screen scrape all your stuff from Facebook. And then the researchers would buy ads targeting demographics and political ads targeting demographics, which Facebook has said repeatedly and explicitly that they've given a lot of attention to. But the researchers were able to demonstrate that that was all lies.
And the people participating could tell the researchers some things about themselves and what they've opted into and what they haven't, and kind of prove that Facebook was not being honest.
Yeah, and the sample size was pretty good sized here. So this is a little bit of a smoking gun.
I think that's what upset Facebook the most, is how many people were willing to participate in this because they hate Facebook.
Very interesting.
So, will anything come from that? No. I mean, we do have this, it's open season on Facebook right now. So a financial punishment maybe we could get.
Facebook's going to be like, we don't allow scraping. Look what happened with Cambridge Analytica. And it's like, well, this is a different kind of scraping, guys. Come on.
Also, in Cambridge Analytica, the user was completely ignorant of everything. In this situation, the user is fully informed about everything.
I would go a step farther and say that the user was actively tricked because it was, which Kardashian are you? And that was just, as you played that game, it was just mining all of your stuff in the background.
She's not really a Courtney.
Which one do you think you are? Is it just the daughters we pick from?
I guess.
I don't even know how many there are.
I think there's 3 or 4, right?
Yeah.
But they're different. It's a different lineage. There's different fathers in there.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Not really. It's not interesting at all. Well, the big infrastructure bill, did that actually get passed yet? Or I know they're fighting real hard about that. Everybody's trying to get their pork in that. And but we will get it eventually. We'll get some version of it. And when we do, there will be $65 billion worth of broadband upgrade money to be spread around. Now, when we started out this bill, we were told that we were going to get an emphasis on fiber. We were going to get an emphasis on small ISPs, and we were going to do something about this whole making municipal ISPs illegal. Those were going to be the big factors of this bill. Guess what happened to all 3 things?
Big Telecom comes out on top in the $65 billion broadband upgrade. All the things Ryan mentioned, they were gutted. So even if you've got a successful municipal broadband, they aren't going to get any kind of preferential treatment. they can still apply for funds. But, if an ISP, an incumbent ISP that hasn't done their job also submits
and
they're
lobbies,
they're going to get equal funding.
They're going to get more funding.
Well, probably reality, yeah, they're going to be more funding.
Chris, what do you think about this art?
I like that art. I don't like the article it's attached to, but I like the art.
The blue part's a little weird. I guess there wasn't much
They
else
just
you
kind of
could do
gave
there.
up on the blue part. They're like, just scramble it up. It's amazing that none of the big companies were like charged for taking the money and not doing anything with it.
Well, they were rewarded.
This has been the pattern since the 90s. We're going to do fiber this time, really. Give us money.
Oh, when you say since the 90s, you mean since the invention of the internet, at least the consumer internet.
Yep.
I mean, they didn't have ISPs prior to that.
Yeah, we knew that copper was not going to cut it 30 years ago, and here we are.
Well, you remember that time that Microsoft and Amazon were fighting about that big government contract? No, not that time. The other time.
Now Microsoft is protesting after Amazon won a $10 billion NSA cloud contract. The battle has moved from Jedi to Wild and Stormy.
These names that they come up with for these programs.
I feel like if I was the person awarding the contract in this case, I'd just be like, fine, neither of you get it because you argued.
But
That's what I do with 3-year-olds.
But you need one of them to do it. You need this program.
I can't believe the NSA is outsourcing some of this to the cloud. It's like, is this really a good idea, guys? But they said that they're going to move a bunch of stuff to the cloud and blah, blah, blah. But there is a really interesting tidbit in here, which is Microsoft's argument is that their proposal was not properly evaluated because it sounds like they had some analytics data on their solution. And it's like, our solution addresses your thing in this way. Log in and take a look. And nobody logged in to take a look. So how did you evaluate it?
And the argument here is basically just a mirror image of the last time.
Yeah.
It's like just the two companies are just taking turns, accusing each other of the same things. I'm sure that's true. They're probably both doing the worst things that they can.
Maybe the NSA and the DoD can get together and it's like, all right, Amazon, you get this one. Microsoft, you get that one. They're both worth about $10 billion. It's fine.
Yeah, so you just showed your naivete by saying the DOJ and the DoD get together. Never. They will not play with one another. These New York Times articles.
Yeah.
They're
Special.
They don't even summarize what they're trying to tell you in the headline. It's just this long meandering. But what you're getting out of this one is that the Teamsters are getting serious about Amazon.
New York Times headline is Amazon faces wider fight over labor practices. I don't think they have a man on the ground for this article. This read like it was sourced from, interviews with like a rando over the phone or something. But there's another warehouse in Alabama, first of all, that is looking at unionizing. And the Teamsters are trying to get stuff organized basically everywhere Amazon has a fulfillment center. And it's like, hey, do you have to pee in a bottle? Yeah, well, Teamsters can put an end to that.
And the Teamsters, unlike most of the unions, Teamsters aren't that worried about doing the more disruptive stuff, like shutting down warehouses or, having strikes and stuff like that. So, although the strikes in the past have not been super effective against Amazon.
Yeah.
They're pretty strong against that. They're strong against unions.
Although at the rate of employee attrition that Amazon is doing, Amazon will soon have employed every capable working person.
Well, what was it? 1 in 160 people in this country are employed by Amazon.
Yeah.
Yeah, 169, I think, yeah.
So if Amazon goes nuclear on people trying to do a union, they're going to run out of workers.
Isn't that something we did a story about that too, where they had like internal memos. They're like, we're kind of burning through staff, and we don't know we'll be able to replace them.
Well, they got that crazy thing where they fire 10%, right?
Yeah.
Constantly fire 10% no matter what. You could have the best workers in the world. And there were managers like, I hire people just to fire them so I don't have to fire my good guys.
Do you think we'll see H-1B visa workers where it's like, this guy is the most amazing, what do they call them? Athletes? Like business
industrial athletes.
It's like we need an H-1B visa for the industrial athletes, from the guy out of Mexico or some guys out of some other Honduras or something. It's like, these guys need to come in and do our warehouse. They're amazing.
I don't think so, because you have to prove a skill level for your H-1Bs, right?
Well, skill level for industrial athleticism.
You're gonna do a combine, the Amazon combine, where we bring them over and make them run the 40 and bench press 250. God, that would be that is a good YouTube parody video somebody could get on, the Amazon combine. And you'd have like an over 65 section, like you'd have different classes. The RV team.
We need to script that. Maybe we could get Linus to help produce it or something. That would be funny.
But he's Canadian. They don't know our plight with Amazon.
I think they kind of do, though, right?
They do.
Doesn't Amazon just abuse everybody all the way down every country?
They definitely do.
Yeah, but I don't think Amazon Canada has... Well, maybe they do. Engagement challenge. Does Amazon Canada have the same reach? Can they deliver to, like, the Great North Unknown? Is that a thing?
You need to deliver this to the number 47 spruce tree in the Saskatchewan outback.
The mining camp.
Yeah. And it's like, here you go. There's the Amazon. I left it against the root.
I could totally see, it's your first day as an Amazon Canada driver, and they give you this like broken down van, and they're like, yeah, just take the ice road for 700 miles.
The van's just peppered with bullet holes.
Well, electronic vehicles, one of the big complaints that a lot of people have about electronic vehicles thus far is that they're kind of a toy of the rich. Not a lot of entry-level ones. That's getting better with the Ford's got the one. There's I think like Hyundai and Honda have a couple that are a little more reasonable. But that $80,000 to $100,000 price tag, that is kind of crazy for a car. Some of the people in the government are saying that same thing.
No EV tax credit if you earn more than $100,000, says U.S. Senate. The amendment would also limit the tax credit to EVs that cost less than $40,000.
I don't know. I mean, I understand the cost less than $40,000 thing, but in terms of how much you earn, are you saving the planet any less if you earn? I mean, isn't that the argument for EVs?
Well, and this isn't going to affect the super rich because they have little holding companies that own a corporate fleet of vehicles that shuttle them around. It's not like those super rich people don't buy a vehicle in their name. Their company that handles them, like their handler company, buys it, and then it's a corporate purchase, and it's in the fleet, so it doesn't even matter.
It seems like they should do everything they can to encourage uptake of that,
or could let the market decide. That's worked in the past. NYPD, they've got a bad reputation.
This is like the 6th article we've covered like this, and the more you peel back the linoleum, the more it's like, ooh.
But here's the impressive thing, right? This is the 6th article that we've talked about with this kind of thing. We didn't know any of this before now.
Yeah.
This is all new information, and it goes back a long time.
The NYPD secretly spent $159 million on surveillance tech. They got X-ray vans, they got facial recognition vans, they got, anything.
Stingrays and those fake towers.
Yeah, I mean, just anything. So when you were at a protest in New York City, there was something running and scanning you and making a note and doing gait analysis. I mean,
probably just when you were walking down the street to get a donut or something.
They've got all the phone unlock subscriptions. Yeah. They've got Celebrite Plus. So yeah, they were forced to reveal all this because of freedom of information, and it's just a treasure trove of what they've been throwing money at.
This is the one where the first couple responses to this were there's no responsive records too. They had to be sued.
So they had a slush fund, and I can't remember what they called it, but they ran everything through the slush fund, which kept it out of the official channels.
Which provides X-ray vans that can detect weapons in vehicles 1,500 feet away. Certainly that's never given anybody cancer.
Or detected anything other than a weapon. So, yeah, wow. A lot of money. And the tax rate, if you're in New York City and you're paying those taxes, you should be angry about that. You should be very angry.
It's funny. A couple of years ago, we were on a road trip, and we were stopped by police like 2 or 3 times, and they always wanted to search the car. And now that I think about it, I had injection molding stuff in the trunk, which is the same kind of metal that a lot of guns are made out of, the same kind of density, and I bet it was like setting off something, and I just didn't realize it because I was like, that seems weird that we've been stopped 3 times as we travel across the state.
You let them search it?
Well, I mean,
disgusting.
Didn't really feel like I had a choice most of the time. Because it's like we're going to search it.
That's what they're counting on.
You can search it now, or we'll be here for 3 hours and we'll get the dog, and it's just like, Jesus Christ.
Oh, man, I can't remember the 99 Problems lyrics. But that's the response you give them.
Yeah.
What, that a bitch ain't what?
Yeah, you know what that song's about? The bitch is a dog. The bitch is the search dog.
Oh.
Right.
No, I've never listened that closely to the lyrics. I just know like the chorus.
So you thought it was about women, right? Nope.
Oh.
It's about police search dogs. Well, I remember when we were getting this big merger, and some people were like, yeah, but what if they did this? And they're like, are you crazy? We would never do that. That would be ridiculous, and I'm not even going to listen to it. And then a year later...
Bloomberg, T-Mobile stirs grave concerns at DOJ on a bid to end the old network. So it turns out there's millions of users that are still using Boost Mobile, but there's also a lot of like alarm systems and pagers and stuff like that on this old network. And T-Mobile wants to shut it down. It's the old Sprint network. And that will also force people to buy new phones, and the cost will probably go up and blah, blah, blah. And so the DOJ is like, wait a minute. When you guys merged, you said this wouldn't happen.
Oh.
It's happening.
Not again. They lied again?
If they're shutting it down and there's no value in it, maybe they should sell it to us. We could probably make a lot of money on that.
No, they say they got to use it to upgrade everything, get it on the new
Of
stuff.
course.
Yeah.
But nobody wants to buy the new stuff. Are we just going to force that to happen?
Yeah, we removed their choice. What are you talking about? That's the beautiful thing about it.
Yay, capitalism.
They have to upgrade. Imagine how many jobs that's going to create. The Navy is doing something that, it's cool, it's impressive, but the surveillance implications, they're a little worrying.
The U.S. Navy is deploying a solar-powered plane that can fly for 90 days. And they were saying, this is going to be amazing because it can escort ships at sea. We'll have advanced warning of pirates or any kind of sea activity for hundreds and hundreds of nautical miles around all of our ships. And then you're like, wait a minute, can these fly over land too? And they're like, shh.
Or, if people have a pesky protest.
They can just follow you home.
Is this image like comically large? Like it feels like the wings are...
Well, it has to. So
it's like stretched.
It's lightweight, but it needs to have like a large, footprint for the air to flow over, I would say.
Yeah.
And solar. It's all solar cells.
Yeah,
on
those
the top.
cells.
Oh, I guess that makes sense.
So they had
space for the panels.
They've had these planes before, but this one increases the solar capacity and automates the piloting of it. So this thing can just take off, and it's just up there, beaming back images all by itself. Hanging out.
Sounds great.
I mean, the solar part is cool, but then it's like, oh, we're going to use this for something terrible, aren't we?
It's a mobile stingray.
That's everything the government's ever invented.
Yeah.
This is pretty cool because we here in the rural area, I'm waiting breathlessly for my fiber rollout.
But you're on the schedule.
Yeah, but that other story, the one about AT&T, I was like, oh God, that's gonna be me. I'm gonna be affected by that. But anyway, you got to get the fiber to you, and it takes a long time, and it's hard to convince them. And guess who's fighting them at every step of the way? The battle of the poles. These big ISPs are actually winning that battle in most cases. In the UK, they have an interesting solution.
The UK launches a $4 million fund to run fiber optic cables through water pipes. So they're going to use the fiber optic cables to monitor the water pipes for breaks or spills, or to know exactly when something bad happens with the water main. But you've got these large, 6-inch diameter water main pipes, and hey, that's a clear path from A to B. Instead of doing all of the work to bury it, we can just put a really, really small fiber optic cable in with the potable water. What could possibly go wrong?
Yes, it seems like there's a lot of things that could go wrong, though.
Like what?
Well, you can leach all kinds of chemicals out of the plastic jacket. I mean, I'm thinking about like fire-rated plenum cable. I would not want to put that in.
Or if you need
water.
to make a repair somewhere, like, wouldn't that be problematic trying to access it?
But I imagine there's going to have to be some kind of conduit that it's run in, right? There's going to be more than one line, probably.
And then that conduit leaches chemicals, or...
Well, PVC, I don't know. I mean, it's the same stuff we're already using. It's a good question. And if that conduit fails and water gets in, you could say that there's probably some issues there. But it's municipal water. That's already poison.
Yeah.
Just drink Nestle water.
Yummy, delicious, someone else's municipal water.
But it's been reverse osmosis purified. That's what's important. I know it comes out of a tap somewhere else.
Probably drinking Colorado River water that they've illegally taken.
Oh, it's public information. People have revealed where, like, based on what brand of Nestle you're drinking, because they have all the brands. They're like the umbrella corporation. They'll tell you where it's coming from. Actually, I think it tells you on the bottle, doesn't it?
Yeah. I'm looking forward to. I want some of the glacier water. I want to preserve some of the glacier water because it's like this is the last fresh melt glacier water on Earth because now all the glaciers are gone.
What would you sell that for in 40 years?
Like $4,000 on eBay.
$4,000. That'll be enough for a Big Mac in 40 years.
I was hoping we had a bottle around, but I don't think we do. There's no bottle.
Nope.
Of water, you mean?
Yeah, I was going to check the label, but you've got...
There's plenty of Nestle water in this jug.
I can't believe you buy Nestle water to put in a reusable bottle.
And I make
Store.level1.com.
And I make my ice cubes out of it. That's the important part. You get your ice out of the refrigerator, you're still drinking municipal water. See, that's where they get you. China, they had a weird week last week, or the week before, I guess, where they were like, hey, Tencent, you're done. And Tencent was like, no. And then it was Didi, you're next. And then Didi's, oh, God.
No.
And then they were kind of like, should we keep doing this? Because we are destroying our stock market. And apparently the answer is yes. We will continue.
China signals more regulation for businesses in coming years, from Bloomberg. So they really put together a pretty complete and succinct roadmap for the next 5 years, and it does not look good for the traditional big businesses. I honestly don't know if that's good or bad for citizenry. There wasn't really anything super nefarious in there.
But, I mean, they do seem to be doing it in the name of, like protecting data and stuff like that. But there's got to be a hook in there, right?
They're protecting the data for themselves.
I guess that's the game. But why now?
Because they've figured out how powerful that is?
Oh, I think they knew. There's something going on there. Very interesting, though.
Probably also the billionaires have had more power in the last 5 years than ever to fight the incumbent. And they're like, whoa, this is more pushback than we've ever had. We got to put an end to that.
They could also be trying to shake out international investors.
Yeah.
For coming war, perhaps. And this is a story that we see over and over and over. And Zambia is an African country, right?
Yes.
This seems to be very popular in African countries when there's an election.
WhatsApp and other social media platforms restricted in Zambia amidst ongoing elections because people are freaking out.
So they claim this is to fight misinformation. A lot of people are questioning that. They think it's meant to fight campaigning by the non-incumbent parties.
So they seem to say that every time, like, oh, it's for misinformation. And then it's like, is it really for that?
Yeah. This was August 12th. They were going to leave this turned off, I think, until Saturday when they finish.
By the time you guys watch this, you'll know.
Yeah, they're going to finish counting the votes. Imagine if no one could have tweeted or gotten on social media between Super Tuesday for the last Trump election till that Saturday.
It would have the country
would have burned.
Yes.
That was an important release valve, maybe. India has really been cracking down on the big tech companies, especially the social media ones, and it's a question of, we know they do it with China. To some extent, they do it to Russia. Will they completely give in and kowtow to India? Now we have the answer.
Twitter is now in compliance with India's new IT rules, the government has said. So I checked. Cow urine reporter dude is still in jail.
Probably not looking good for his future.
India's got a lot of people, and Twitter recognizes those people not as people, but as potential customers.
Yeah. Oh, and you know what else I was reading about? Apparently, unlike Wendell, most people in the U.S. are rejecting sugary drinks. They're getting killed on sugary drinks here. And they feel that China and India are the answer to that question. So they're pushing hard sugary drink. Engagement challenge, if you're in China or India, have you seen an influx of drink commercials and advertising?
Ooh.
I saw somebody refer to Coke as American Blackwater, and
That's kind of true.
I like that.
South Korea kind of is into that too. Don't they have some sort of soda that's like really popular with the youth?
Well, I'm sure every country has that.
But there's like a culture around it, I think. You know what? I'll ask one of our mods is in South Korea. I'll ask him.
She says, as we've reviewed orange sodas for like 6 weeks now, or 8.
Well, listen, I'll ask him. Actually, I won't. I'll probably forget by the time we do the stream tonight. But
Well, moving on to the security section, we have a big merger in the security world. I'm sure this will be excellent for consumers and overall a good thing, right?
NortonLifeLock and Avast PLC merge an $8.4 billion transaction. I don't have any idea how either one of those companies are worth 1% of that.
Yeah, I know, right? I mean,
I really don't.
I feel like Norton, in my mind, has just as bad a reputation as McAfee. And they don't even have the crazy guy who, poisoned the name for years after.
Yeah. LifeLock is like one of those identity things that started out as snake oil, and then, they sort of figured out what the product was. They were just like a fear product.
I think it's still real hard to get any relief from all of that, right? You have to really prove it was something. You have to, like, step by step show how it happened. Kind of like all insurance, I guess, right? Well, this was a big one in the crypto world because we have these DeFi sites, decentralization. The problem with cryptocurrency, it's got centralization. So what do? We decentralize it. But do we really know how to do that?
No.
Maybe we don't.
Cross-chain DeFi site Polynetwork hacked, hundreds of millions potentially lost. The DeFi platform Polynetwork was attacked on Tuesday with alleged hacker draining roughly $600 million in crypto. I thought this was the one where they agreed to give it back? Because hackers returned nearly half of the $600 million they stole in one of the biggest crypto heists. But that was because the network marked their tokens as having no value. So the headline there is a little misleading.
And they called out and they were like, hey, here's the addresses. Do not take anything from these addresses.
Yeah.
Don't let any transaction happen from these addresses. And so they're like, well, okay, I guess we'll give some of it back. They still have to figure out how to launder that other half.
Well, they've given more than that since then. But yeah.
What if they said, because they were in communication with them, what if they said, it's like, all right, listen, let me keep 10.
10%.
Let me keep 10. No, 10 million.
Oh, 10 million. Okay.
I'll take less than 10%. Just let me keep 10 million and don't hassle me.
They probably would do that.
But I don't think the authorities would
probably not
play that game. Yeah. Well, we all know that if you've played an RPG, you know the joys of a master key. A key that can open any door. Wow, what a great thing that is. Unless you work in security. And then you find that to be a terrifying thing. And when it's not a physical key, it's even more terrifying.
Researchers create master faces to bypass facial recognition. According to their paper, their findings imply that facial recognition systems are extremely vulnerable. So they can create artificial faces that are enough generic that it's like, oh yeah, that's this guy.
Now, how great is this? How beautiful if you're like a young, woke, revolutionary, that the master people, the horrible problem that we have with all of our security, are all old white men.
They do. I mean, they do kind of have like a certain face type, right?
Well, I guess this guy's a little bit Asian, right? Hard to tell at that age. But that's it. So it turns out that old white man face that's the back door.
The top left and the bottom left, you can't tell me that's not the same dude.
No, these are all generated by an AI. These are not real people at all.
Wow.
Crazy, huh? Your algorithm is failing.
Well, my vision's failing, so.
That's true. Those are all just pink blobs to you, Krista.
I can see them, just not real well.
She drove here.
I have contacts in. I get my eyes checked every year, which is more than I can say for you.
And yet, no, I'm going to go soon. I've been meaning to do that. Next time I get like a 4-day period without rain, I'm going to do that.
What? Why are you attaching it to the weather?
Because I don't drive my car in the rain.
Oh. Do you drive all the way home to get your eyes checked? I do that. I shouldn't, but.
No, that guy has dementia now.
Oh.
All the records are gone. Yeah.
Nice.
Right.
Wow. I'm assuming he probably didn't have a digital backup.
No one knows. He's just gone. He's just in a home somewhere.
Surely he's got staff. Anyway.
I think they just noped out.
Wow.
There's probably some legal pursuit there, but I'm going to go after an old man with dementia.
Yeah.
He was a nice guy. We'll start over. It's been like over a decade, so probably not much value there anyway, right? Now, I do. One of the things about prison that's unpleasant, but you got to understand it, right? Is they listen to everything that you say on those phones, and so often people get busted by that. Like they know it because it plays a little audio recording when you get a call and when you place a call.
Haven't they played Prison Architect? You can tap the phones in that too.
Yeah, it's like they don't even game. But this takes it to a disturbing new level.
U.S. prisons mull AI to analyze inmate phone calls. It's like inmate 3621 is talking about playing Stellaris a bunch, and we think that's code for moving illicit material.
Stellaris is code for MS-13. So yeah, they're saying that not only would this look for keyed words, like, flagged words, like I imagine murder or drugs, you can program it to add new words because all that prison slang keeps changing over time. And so you can sort of, set your own rules up in this AI, and it'll listen to stuff, and then you go back and it'll say, oh yeah, this is what happened here.
I wonder if you could trick that somehow by instead of a very defined word, just do a weird noise in your throat. You think it would pick that up?
Yeah, but you would have to set all that up beforehand because all of your mail and all of your voice is recorded, so you don't have time to create this conspiracy when you're already in. That's the tough part. It's hard to overcome security when you're locked inside of a building.
It's true.
Well, actually it's not, because somehow drugs and phones just can't keep coming into prisons.
You got to build 2 fences, each 10 blocks apart, so people can't throw it over.
10 blocks?
Yeah, in Prison Architect, that's how you.
Oh, I thought you meant city blocks.
No.
Well, but what about drones, Chris? They use drones now.
It's not part of the DLC as far as I know. I haven't played the DLC yet, but
I should add that.
They should add that.
Well, speaking of unacceptable levels of surveillance,
Uber has asked a contractor to allow video surveillance in employee homes and bedrooms.
No, thank you.
Yikes. Because obviously some people work from their bedrooms. Like if you live in New York and you got a studio apartment, you work from every room because there's only the one.
Because New York City.
And they're saying that you might be cheating about what you're doing. So not only do they have screen recording software and keystroke recording software, but they're not saying, I don't know, I think we need to look at you all day.
What could possibly go wrong?
Well,
I don't understand that at all.
Now, there's never been a time in Uber's past where they misused driver data, was there?
Oh, only the 7 or 8 times.
And there would never be a story about, like some IT worker at Uber who just likes looking at girls in their bedrooms or boys. Apple is coming under a little bit of fire because maybe they had some scam software on their app store, and
but our walled garden is so amazing.
Someone checks every app.
But here's the thing about it. Like, imagine if you had the walled garden and inside of it there was a hungry bear, but there was also a giant neon sign with an arrow pointing down that says, come see the bear.
Developers complain that Apple promotes scam apps on the App Store. Apple removed the story promoting the apps after the developers pointed it out.
Oops.
Ugh. This one was a slime-based app.
What does that mean?
Jelly Slime Simulator ASMR. I don't know.
So just fart noises is an app? I don't.
But it was a subscription.
And a weekly subscription. Krista, how much do you think they would charge weekly? How much do you think they thought they could get away with?
$2.
$13.
What?
Yeah.
We're in the wrong business.
$13 a week.
We're stopping. We have an announcement. We're stopping the YouTube channel and we're getting into whatever this is.
Scam apps.
Crime, Krista. That's what
crime.
That's crime. Yeah. And if you remember the big Apple iCloud automatically detecting the photo hashes thing, a lot of companies have come out against that.
Yeah.
And a lot of people have complained about it. But it turns out there's actually a really easy way to avoid it.
Apple can't run CSAM checks on devices with iCloud photos turned off because your photos don't sync to the cloud and they don't run the check on the device yet. They will. Don't worry. It runs in the cloud.
So I don't know if that's really a tip we want to give out, but there's other reasons not to want them to look at your pictures than trafficking child stuff.
Some had suggested that there was some kind of a deal between the DOJ and Apple. I think we've been able, with this piece of information, we're able to piece together what happened. The DOJ threatened to come after Apple for having illegal material on their servers, unless they played ball with the whole decrypt phones application thing. This would be a move against that.
But you're insinuating that they would have this cozy relationship, when clearly, based on this story, they are the bitterest of enemies.
Apple says it will reject any government demands to use new child sexual abuse images detection system for surveillance. And yet, that's what that is.
I don't believe them.
Apparently, they just didn't bribe him a high enough number yet.
If you read really carefully into the Apple quotation, it's like, to do anything beyond what's required by law. So again, that sort of plays back into my argument that, like, I think they were threatened because they don't provide backdoor encryption, that they're going to, come up with something that Apple's doing that's illegal. And so Apple's like, all right, if we have to do that to comply with the law, then so be it. But look at, they're doing far more egregious things in markets like the Chinese market. So this is really shouldn't surprise anybody. And it's going to get worse.
Imagine how much more threat or how much more weight that threat holds if you start talking to them. It's like, we're getting rid of 230, right? Be a shame if you had a big server full of nasty stuff and we do that. Amazon, they've created a world where reviews on their site matter an incredible amount financially for businesses, big and small. So these businesses are doing everything they can to try and get good reviews, including cheating, right? They're buying them.
Yeah.
But more importantly, that one-star review, because one-star review will cancel out a lot of purchased reviews.
Yeah.
What do?
When Amazon customers leave negative reviews, some sellers hunt them down and they'll offer double refunds if you take away your negative review. I can definitely say that, on some of the stuff that I've worked on, sometimes you have a customer that is so amazingly dumb that it's just impressive. And they're like, I'm not really happy with this product because, it's just craziness. And they'll leave a thing and people then start to have doubts about it. And it's like, no, you don't understand. That person was just incredibly dumb.
I see a lot of Amazon reviews where it'll be a one-star review. It's like, they just left this on my porch and it rained in the box. And it's like, well, that's not really the product's fault now, is it? And we maybe should have a different review for the seller in a different spot. That does exist, but it's really hard to find. So, there's definitely some failure on the part of the customer. But here's the problem with this story. It's not supposed to be possible for them to ever find you outside of your Amazon. Like Amazon strips the emails, right?
Yeah.
So how are these companies finding these people?
Some of it is address based. Some of it is you can message them, and there's like a dispute resolution system.
You can't do that here because if Amazon saw this, you'd be done. This is outside of it. And they interviewed this one woman, and they're like, "Well, how did they get your email?" And she didn't have an answer for them.
Oh.
Yeah. And like you say, Krista, she doesn't stalk like she used to. It might have atrophied a little bit, but in her glory days, she could have got that email address in like 10 minutes.
It's a weird set of skills to develop over time. I had to do that recently when we were hiring another editor. But I don't take it to the extreme creep level that I used to.
It's fine.
Got to use those muscles, Krista.
Letting them matter. Well, I think people are more privacy minded too. Like they don't post everything online anymore.
How's your archery going?
It rained the first 2 days this week, and then I was doing garden stuff the rest of the week, so I haven't had a chance to shoot this week.
Well, a true, serious archer, Krista, does not let the rain stop them.
It was pouring rain, though.
You wax that bowstring, and you get out there.
And you just get out there and do it. I do enjoy it. But yeah, I just haven't had a chance this week. There's a lot of weeding to do. I've let a portion of my garden kind of get crazy, so I had to go out and just mash weeds for an afternoon.
Yeah, I'm going to let that joke go this week. Moving on to the security section, we have some bad news. If you're running a certain kind of router firmware,
routers and modems that are running the Arcadyan firmware are under attack. Yeah, they're going to be made part of the botnet. So there's a bunch there. So there's ADSL, wireless routers,
Oh, wow.
Asus, Buffalo.
That was a long list.
Yeah. Most of them are older. But a lot of people don't replace this stuff very often.
It just mysteriously stopped working. I don't understand.
Yikes. And here's an interesting one, because these international criminal gangs, and a lot of them seem to come out of Russia. This one, in fact, seems to be confirmed came out of Russia. But we don't know much about them. How do you find out the dark details of these guys? Well, you let their own dysfunction do the work for you.
Step 1, do a Google search. Ransomware hacker goes rogue and leaks the gang's plan. So this guy, I guess they were successful with something, and this guy was upset because the split wasn't correct or something.
Right. His spoils, he did not feel. It felt like his contribution was worth more than he was getting.
So he's like, all right, let's leak everything.
And the hilarious thing here are the training documents, because really is step 1, do a Google search. You have to try and identify how much money they bring in and who the top people might be that you go after to get their identities and their accounts. So it's sort of like do your homework, and then they have this toolkit. I think it was called Cobalt or something like that.
Cobalt Strike.
And Cobalt Strike, and kind of a paint by numbers type of deal, it seemed like.
Yeah.
Interesting that you would think they would have a lot more
this is
skill.
That criminal franchising thing where it's like you just outsource the low-level gruntery and cut them in when they hook something.
Turnkey terrorism.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, it worked for a while, but you do have to worry about. What's interesting? You ever read about how pirates during the golden age of piracy, they had a very structured way of divvying up the spoils.
yeah.
And it was, you knew when you got on that boat what you were going to get, what percentage you were going to get. Internet of Things, it's a bad idea. Want some proof?
But Bob had a bad night. IoT mischief in a capsule hotel takes neighborly revenge to the next level. When you hand over control of capsule bedrooms to guests, you also offer them the means to troll others.
So they had a DEF CON near this capsule hotel.
Oh,
Yeah. And
there it is.
And somebody was being real loud next to this guy's capsule. So he began to deconstruct the room. It turns out that all the routers and everything are just like cleverly hidden, but you can access them, and you can plug your phone and laptop into them. Once you've done that, he did have to drain the battery out of the iPad because it wouldn't let him leave that app. But once he drained the battery and charged it back up, he was able to get through that. Took over and started messing with the guy next to him who was being loud.
Nice.
Is this one of those hotels that's like you just get like a little coffin to sleep in?
Yeah.
Yep.
I think
That's some dedication to pull out all your tech gear in your little capsule just to mess with the guy next to you.
But imagine how annoying it could be if the guy next to you. He said the guy next to him was on the phone at like 3 a.m.
Oh,
Imagine how. Look how thin those walls are.
Yeah. I mean, that's just a piece of drywall. So. Yeah.
wow.
And we've seen these stories too many times at this point. Certainly one time is too many times, but this has got to be like the 5th or 6th time we've seen a major headline about this. And in this case, it wasn't the destruction that caused it, but they were smart enough that as soon as they got a whiff of it, they were like, just turn it all off.
Yeah.
Turn the lights off. Nothing has power right now. And when that happens...
Ransomware attack forces Indiana hospital to turn ambulances away because they turn everything off.
Yikes.
Wow.
No one died this time around that we know of, but it could be that someone got,
Rerouted.
a lifelong debilitation because they didn't get their treatment quickly.
Oh, he only didn't have oxygen to the brain for an extra 2 minutes. It's fine.
Yeah, it's only like 12 IQ points.
That's like 50.
He's not going to need those. And here's our terrifying surveillance age story of the week, because this man did nothing. He knew nothing, and he had no recourse.
Activists raided by police after downloading London property firm's confidential meeting minutes from a Google search. Someone must have broken in and taken the docs, it says Leather Market Community Benefit Society. So they raided his house, they arrested him, they took him to the police station, and he explained, it was like, I was looking for copies of the meeting minutes, which turned up in a Google search. And this company pulled the IP address from its logs and said, this person must have broken into the servers because those are behind a password. But they're not really behind a password because the site was not configured correctly because Google indexed those documents. And so when the police found it, they were like, he didn't do anything wrong.
So it turns out when you search for leather market minutes, first result is the PDF. Now, they don't have the same protections that we have, I guess, in this case. Like, can an IP still identify you over there?
I think that that's not really a protection that we have. I think here you would probably still be arrested, and it would have to make it a little bit further in the process.
But the eventually, because it is a Supreme Court ruling, you would say that you would get away from that.
Yeah.
And maybe he would have eventually as well. Of course, people talk about, it's like, oh, don't worry. You'll get arrested, but it'll never go anywhere. Well, what?
That's still super annoying.
That's going to cause me a lot of problems. Who's going to feed my cats?
It's going to mow your lawn.
That's our last story.
What do we got for tomorrow?
I don't remember. I've been pre-sorting, so I don't remember.
I think it was social and probably robot, right?
We got a design section this week, Kristen.
Oh, no. I didn't see that.
Oh. Chat.
I saw there's a black hole story as well, but that's probably for nonsense.
Right.
So.
The black hole was not designing anything.
No.
Except for your murder.
Don't get too close. We'll see you.
Bye. Hello. Welcome back to Level 1 News. Today is August 18th, and we're doing business, social, and 3 design stories, which I actually knew one of them, so I wasn't as far off as I thought. We also have extra orange sodas today.
But we're getting crazy with them. This is a whole new thing. People are sending in their hacks.
So the Zevia was mix orange and cream soda. I'll try it. I'm not going to do it.
You're going to do an individual?
This is supposed to simulate the orange cream.
I want you to do it like Galadriel, where it's like things that were, things that are, and some things that have not yet come to pass.
I'm not going to waste more than that.
Yeah, swish it first.
Now, we tried the orange Zevia before.
I remember you liked that a lot.
Well, that is delightfully creamy to be only 0 calories.
Maybe this person figured something. Can you credit somebody for this?
Do you remember the username?
I mentioned it last week. Wow, that is shockingly good.
But is this, you get double the soda this way because it's in cans. You can't just let it sit. You have to mix it all right now.
I guess you could maybe share it.
A little bit of orange, a little bit of cream.
Do you think it's the perfect mix, or could you mess with the ratio, make it better?
I would probably mess with the ratio. I think a 2-to-1 orange to cream is probably going to be the right ratio because it's pretty creamy.
Now, those are colorless too.
Yeah.
They're clear.
Interesting. I guess you should give this a letter grade, but I don't think we can count this in the orange soda canon.
This is not thirst quenching. This is like a
You're next to your fireplace in the wintertime with your mug full of 2 different sodas.
If you were next to your fireplace in the winter with this soda, you're probably contemplating some problem. It's not relaxing like a nice tea. It's not stimulating like a really strong coffee. It's not like hot cocoa. It's more like the world is ending.
This is a stress drink, you're saying?
Well, maybe not a stress drink, but like the world is ending and I just don't care anymore. And, I wanted something vaguely orangey and creamy.
That's not...
It's a comfort food, maybe.
I don't
comfort
think
drink.
The Zevia people will use that for their marketing push.
It's disturbingly clear, too, because, how, clear stuff is not, crystal clear. This is clearer than Crystal Pepsi. Look at that.
I saw when you were pouring it, yeah.
It's static water, kind of.
How do you remove the orange coloring out of that?
It's so artificial. It's basically like...
Well, don't they usually add the coloring to most sodas, as an aesthetic thing? So maybe they just don't add the coloring.
Yeah, but if there's any real orange anywhere in that equation, there's going to be an orange color.
Oh, yeah. I don't think anything about this is real.
The only thing it's good at is making you want another sip.
So perfect.
The diet soda method.
Yeah.
What's the letter grade?
This is probably a B+. It's a valiant effort. There wasn't any kind of weird side effect from mixing orange and cream. And,
that we know of yet.
And I did pour a lot more orange into with a little bit more cream. And it definitely does work better having more orange than cream. So the Zevia people probably would be good at better. Like they could just make a new flavor that's just their existing lines mixed together. You know, they could go the Factorio route where they, you know, just have a picker putting it on belts and you're good to go.
It turns out if you mix that in a sealed container for more than 3 weeks, it bursts into flame. They've tried it.
I tried to do that with that juice that time. I left it sitting in the windowsill sealed. It got very puffy.
What juice are you talking about?
It was like a raw juice. And I was curious what would happen with it. So I like closed it up and put it in the window, and it did indeed start to
Just shocking.
fill with nasties. I was like, it really is, raw.
Wow, Krista, that could have been a 4th grade science project.
I know. Should have got the Nobel Prize for that. I then had to throw it away. Wendell was like, please do not keep that in your office.
Yeah.
It will explode.
It's going to cause a problem.
See, because I've cleaned that up before.
Raw juice?
Yeah, from something that had exploded.
Oh.
There was an apple juice container somebody left up here.
Ooh.
You hope that was apple juice.
It definitely was. Well, the labeling was apple juice, and it just...
A few years ago, there was a pack of Mountain Dew in one of the offices that randomly exploded. I don't even think it was that old.
There was also a Pepsi that had gone flat. It did not explode, but it turns transparent in UV light eventually.
Oh.
Maybe that's what ZV is doing, dude.
It's just been sitting in the sun, and then they recarbonate it and package it.
It's the side effect of blasting it for the you-know-what. Like, we're using UV light to kill the thing. Woo! And then, it made our soda transparent.
Well, the entire time you've been sitting there talking about that, I've been trying to think of a transition that gets into this story, but
there's none.
There's no way to go from orange soda to wearables.
The Galaxy Watch 4 injects Samsung's capable hardware with Google software. So Samsung and Google, it looks like a watch, and they brought back the dial where you can move the watch face around, which I really like. They brought it back.
Doesn't look awful, but I just don't see the point of wearing a watch these days.
$300 to $400, and it ships August 27th.
I just feel like it's an awkward form factor to try to do anything really important on. Like,
I might get one of these for Mom if it will keep an eye on her blood pressure and it has like a fall monitor and that kind of stuff.
For healthcare stuff, but like anything else.
And the other thing is, Google's spying is baked into that. You got Google strap your wrist.
Yeah.
It's more invasive than your pocket even. So Samsung is also working on, it's not really new technology, but it's one that they are hell-bent on getting into the mainstream.
They're trying to make it happen.
Yeah, they're going to make this happen.
Samsung unveils new foldable smartphones with lower prices to expand the market. And these are foldable that way and also the other way.
They got 2 different ones. This is the 7-inch one, and then they got the clamshell one.
I like the 7-inch one, except for the price. The price
It's a little pricey.
gives me pause.
Yeah. Oh, register for free to continue. What was it, like $2,000?
It was like $1,649 to like $2,100 with all the options. That's a little much for a phone.
That's a lot much.
Yeah.
It's a lot much considering how much phone you get for like the $350 OnePlus.
Yeah, and the foldables, in terms of hardware, are not as impressive as a regular phone that you could get for the same price.
Very true.
Yeah. You sacrifice a lot for the folds. And HP has some new offerings, one of which has its own gimmick, which I would say is
A gimmick.
almost as useless. We've seen it once before in TVs. I think this is the first monitor that's bragged about this.
HP announces new detachable and all-in-one Chrome OS computers. Plus, it works with the new Chromebook certified USB-C monitor. So,
Yeah, that monitor, you see how it's portrait mode? It rotates.
Wow.
Yeah.
just like the old Radius CRT monitors from 1993.
That's amazing. How much do I have to pay to get that feature?
Well, you get the whole computer comes together for $599 for either of those, and the USB-C monitor alone will cost you $250.
I don't think HP's going to make much on those.
I don't think people are going to be excited for that. I was just actually kind of trying to squeeze in as much hardware stuff as I could find. Maybe should have left that one on the floor. But not this one, because our audience will be hot for this one.
They are.
Because they are sycophants.
Radeon RX 6600 XT review, AMD RDNA 2 for mainstream gamers. It's $379 MSRP, which is, like, if you plot how much graphics cards you get for how much dollars over time, it is a linear increase of price and performance. But in the market where, an upper mid-range graphics card that should be $700 is like $1,300, you've been actually able to buy these close to retail. They actually did have a very large supply, but availability was still kind of spotty. Although our local Micro Center still has some in stock. And it's 2 days later. Some, not a lot.
By the time they watch this, they may be gone.
Probably are gone, yes.
This is, they're shooting for just 1080 gaming here.
Yeah.
Good 1080 gaming.
Good 1080 gaming.
Yeah. Which, you know what? That's fine.
The bar has moved. I mean, you can play last year's AAA 1080 games at over 100 frames per second, so it feels weird calling it a 1080 card because they mean like 1080 with ray tracing. But if you don't want ray tracing, you can get 1440 just fine.
But we need ray tracing. It's all that matters. I got that 30 series card. I've not played a single ray tracing game. I don't care.
Playing Cataclysm, which is like
Doom Eternal. Did you play Doom Eternal? Did you get into it?
No.
It's very sad. Like you were talking about, like you were raging out since the thing. It's a lot of fun for that kind of thing.
Oh, I can't channel my rage into that.
Oh.
Now I have to do something physical to channel my rage.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's very satisfying watching the Doom guy like grab a monster with his bare hands and like just rip it in half.
Maybe I'll check. I think that's on the Xbox subscription. Maybe I'll check that out. Are you saying that's a good example of ray tracing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, they're not even using all the ray tracing features. They're just turning on reflections, but it looks really good. Like the visuals and the special effects and stuff like that are really good. Plus, it's just really satisfying to like chainsaw the monsters and blow them up and stuff.
While you're killing monsters, you can really admire your reflection in the pool of their blood.
Yeah. I like when the viscera has a nice sheen to it.
Yeah, but it's not plasticky. You know how it's been plasticky in old games? No, they did a good job.
Looks really wet.
Yeah.
That's nice. Well, last week we talked about the Steam Deck and how they were preparing for their Linux releases, but I'm going to make some of you mad here. Linux is not ready for gaming, really. There's still a lot of stuff that it doesn't do, specifically anti-cheat. Most anti-cheat software considers Linux to be cheating.
Oh.
So what are you going to do?
Valve is working with AMD to make the Steam Deck Windows 11 ready. Valve has been focused on Windows support. Now, they have officially said it's going to ship with Linux, but that's not going to stop a lot of people from putting Windows on it.
And it's nothing about, the only thing here is the TPM.
Yeah.
They have to figure that out. I don't think that'll be too big a thing.
I'm pretty sure that AMD can just patch that in because the processor probably has the support for that.
And Facebook, this headline actually turned out to be a lot less interesting than I thought. I meant to cut this and I didn't. But hey, it's a new thing that you can get if you are operating some server stuff that needs a lot of different hardware to communicate.
Facebook engineers develop a new open source timekeeping appliance. It's a PCIe card. Dr. Cuttress, the Anantech fame, he did a video on this as well. You can build this. It's really awesome. You can put, rare earth materials in your computer, cesium, I think, and do really insanely precise timekeeping. And also GPS timekeeping and some other stuff. So it's exciting times.
Well, in the last episode, was it Uber? I think they did this, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Uber was trying to do this and it was getting some pushback. Amazon, turns out, definitely going to do it. I think they might have already started.
Amazon to monitor customer service workers' keyboards and mouse strokes. An internal document also mentions cases where imposters have stolen Amazon customer data.
So this one isn't to make sure you're working, although I'm sure they will
They definitely
Yeah,
factor
they
that
will
into
use
it. It's to make sure that you're not going off script or looking up things that you're not supposed to be looking in that wealth of database information that they have to give you access to do your job. So we really have to trust the people that we hire, but we hire so many people and there's so much turnover. How do we know they're not just taking advantage of us?
They definitely are.
Yeah. And they're going to try to stop it with this. I don't know how successful that will be.
Should we just treat our workers better and hire better
No.
people? No.
Pro criminal tip: if you are exfiltrating data from Amazon, make sure that you do the mouse movements and the keystrokes that you're going to use when you exfiltrate throughout the day, several times. And then try to get flagged before you actually do it. And they come to you and they're like, hey, what's going on here? And it's like, oh, I'm sorry, I just have a nervous tick. Sometimes I just mouse crazily. And we talked a lot about Amazon and their counterfeit issue. Sometimes, I guess the worst possible scenario with a counterfeit is fire. Sometimes things catch fire.
Like those people's houses they burned down with that Chinese scooter thing.
Or the cables. There have been power
Yeah.
cables.
Oh,
that have
yeah.
done it.
Amazon Basics.
And when you contact Amazon and you're like, hey, your Amazon Basic power cable burned down my house, in the past, you would hear nothing. But now maybe.
Sucks to suck, says Amazon.
Amazon will pay up to $1,000 in damages caused by defective products. This policy kicks in on September 1st. There's going to be a lot of people that fraud the bejesus out of that.
And they are working on some kind of dashboard to get sellers insurance.
Yeah,
And I imagine they will require that pretty soon.
yeah, because it's like, oh, you burned somebody's house down. Here, insurance, whatever.
So it's going to get more expensive to be a third-party seller on Amazon. But maybe the consumers will get a little bit of relief. Maybe. Also, Amazon's gaming arm, God, they have been really bad, haven't they?
Remember they were like, we're going to have this thing called Lumberyard where you can just
Right.
make your game in the cloud and we handle all this stuff. And an indie developer can make a game with, 1 million massively multiplayer online users. And it's going to be the most amazing thing ever. And they had all those mind-blowing demos. And then they had that thing recently, which is kind of built with the Lumberyard, but that's basically been it.
Well, you're ignoring they had a AAA Lumberyard game that they actually made. You remember what happened with that?
It created spectacular.
Nothing happened with that. It was so bad, they scrapped it before it ever came out. I think they let some people beta test it, and the reaction was so bad, it was like, all right, let's just put this back on the shelf. And then they had that other recent game.
The brown note of video games.
And then the new recent game also failed in some spectacular way. They're really bad at this. And I wonder if maybe some of it is morale.
Amazon drops the draconian policy on making games after work hours. So this was, it struck me as like when they bought Lumberyard, they were super paranoid that somebody inside Amazon was going to make a game like SNKRX that was going to be better than all of the Lumberyard crap that they were doing. And that's not a good look. We need to not do that.
So the rules were, if you make a game outside of Amazon, by the way, this is your game, but if you're an Amazon employee and you do it, no matter when you do it or where you do it, you must use Amazon development tools. I imagine that means Lumberyard or whatever its successor is. You must use AWS. You must make them aware of it. And here's the crazy one. Your payment system must go through Amazon.
Didn't they also say they owned it? Like, that's our game?
I don't
Comrade?
know. They didn't quite go that far, but with all that other stuff in place, they're already getting their taste, right?
Yeah. They essentially own it.
We're back to the whole Subway McDonald's thing.
Yeah. Essentially. Krista, we know that you do this. Do you share with people in the same house, or do you go between houses?
Well, I don't do that, but
Allegedly.
if I did, it would be between houses.
Ooh. You might be noticing this very soon.
Netflix intensifies VPN ban and targets residential IP addresses too.
They blocked the addresses here at the office.
Really?
Yep.
Really?
Interesting. Is it maybe it's just because that's a business IP pool?
Probably. I don't know. I thought it was funny and interesting.
Who's watching Netflix here?
Mom.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's right.
Well, also we used to do. We haven't done it in like forever,
But
but we used to do movie nights here too.
But the apartments are on that too, aren't they?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, so they're saying that they're aware that shutting down these wide swaths of VPN IP addresses are going to bleed over and they're going to affect people like this building. They don't care.
They don't care. It's like, it doesn't matter that it's mixed residential and commercial use. Doesn't matter.
It might when everyone starts canceling their subscriptions.
Maybe. I don't know. And Google, in a bit of a hypocritical move, wouldn't you say? Because that's kind of, I mean, you could describe Google as this same thing.
It's not that it was a hypocritical move. It's that they started auditing what he was doing, and it was so far beyond the pale.
It was bad.
That they were like, oh, crap, this could be our Cambridge Analytica moment.
Yeah, not a bad move. Let me clarify. I don't think this is a bad move, but it is Google, so yeah.
Google bans location data firm funded by former Saudi intelligence head. SafeGraph sells smartphone location data essentially to anyone, and Google banned the company in June. So their libraries and their telemetry are in a scary number of apps, and the telemetry that it generates is really scary. This is conjecture and just my opinion, but it looks to me like they exploited the framework on Android to dump far more information from Android users than Google really ever thought. And when Google audited this, they were like, oh crap, this could be our Cambridge Analytica moment, because the phones are not only reporting their position and their data, but also things that they see and hear wirelessly. Things like the microphone capture, things like mobile MAC addresses, things like Bluetooth MAC addresses. And other phones see that, and if you get enough of that data, you can put together an incredible picture of places everybody goes.
And in fact, we've already done it. And when it was done, it was widely celebrated, and everybody was like, oh, this is such amazing technology. It's so good. Because what they tracked was the pandemic stuff, the movement of people.
To
and
what
the
extent
tracing.
Would you have to do that you would send Google reeling? Think about that.
Yeah. Well, I think the problem, it's not so much the degree of it, it's Google has seen all the third-party problems, right? Because it's always a third party. And they probably started looking at their third parties, and it's like, all right, who is our weakness? Oh. Oh, that.
Oh, no.
Well, working from home can save you quite a bit of money. You're talking about fuel, wear and tear on your vehicles, clothing.
Yeah.
None of my jeans fit. Zero. I have no jeans. And I'm just going with it right now. You know, I'll buy another pair when I have to. But thanks to this, I don't have to. And Google's saying, that's our money.
Reuters reports pay cut. Google employees who work from home could lose money up to 25%. There's like an employee calculator thing that's been put together. So it's like, hey, if you want to work from home forever, okay, cool, as long as your productivity's up. But we're also not going to pay you because you don't have to live in the valley. Me personally, I think this is actually a stealth layoff.
Yeah, I feel like if you were a new employee coming in, that would make sense. But if you're already an existing employee getting paid at a certain level, and then they're like, "Oh, we're going to cut your pay by 25%," you're just asking for them to leave, right? I think it
would maybe also be okay if it was like you go to Google or Google goes to you, and it's like, "Are you planning to move, from the valley, or are you planning to move, blah blah blah?" Because it is crazy expensive to live there. And if the answer is yes, maybe, but. Yeah, I don't know.
Can they just renegotiate your contract like that, like out of nowhere though?
Usually that's like prelude to a layoff. Usually It's like, there's the revenue problems and we got to do this and that and blah blah blah. And it's like if you're not going to be available to come into the office ever again, let's renegotiate. So it could go either way.
But they are selling it as straight up. It's kind of like how software is sold around the world. It's not based on what it's worth. It's based on where you are.
Yeah.
So you're doing the same work as the next person. You might be doing better or worse work, but it doesn't matter because it's just where you're at and what the pay is there. Yeah. And of course, a lot of people are attacking it because they're saying that it's the at-risk demographics are going to suffer more because of this, because they live in bad places. Mm. How do you rise up from the slums if you're always getting paid based on the slums?
That's a whole other conversation, because there's a bunch of economic studies that show that if you make really good rental housing, that it actually drives up the price of crappy rental housing, because the really good rental housing also rents for higher, but not as high as the highest end rental housing. But that somehow raises the price of crappier housing as well.
Because they think they can compete?
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen that in the real estate market around here. I mean, I've seen some houses when we were looking at houses that were like a year or two ago, those would have been worth almost nothing. But then if they saw everyone else in the neighborhood raise their prices, they're like, oh, I'm going to ask for $200,000 for this house that's falling apart.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of houses in the market too that only need like $5,000 or $10,000 of work that are selling for $30,000 below where they should because nobody wants to fool with it.
Yeah.
Unless you're going to do it all by yourself, you ain't going to find somebody to do it right now.
Wow, that's true.
And the cost of lumber and other supplies and
lumber is crazy.
I've heard it's supposed to be going down, but
at the end of June, I think, or maybe July, it started to. I don't know if it's continued that trend.
It hasn't made its way to Lowe's. A sheet of plywood at Lowe's is still like $80.
Well, it's like the gas, right?
Yes.
It takes a very short amount of time to go up and a very long time to trickle back down.
Yeah, I'd like to build like part of a fence so we could let Rue out to play in our giant yard, but nope, not right now. Too expensive.
You can probably get a roll of metal fencing cheaper than a wooden one.
Yeah. But it doesn't look as pretty.
It definitely doesn't.
There's a sawed-off piece of fence post in the basement if you want
it. There's also one of those, if you do get a metal fence, there's a thing for hammering it into the ground in the basement that makes it real easy.
No, we might do that. We just need to do like one section to fix it, and then we need to put a gate next to the garage, and then Rue could run in the back.
I bet Rue could jump over a lot more fence than you think.
She found the one section of fence, like part of the yard's already fenced. She found the one section that wasn't when she got off leash once and then ran across the street to go see the neighbor's horse.
Also, digging. If she's going to be there unmonitored, digging has to be considered.
No, she won't be unmonitored. She'll always be outside with a person. But I'd love to be able to play fetch with her. Because we play fetch in the house, but it's not the same.
Well, one company that wouldn't have to worry about how much money they spend on that stuff is because they have all the money in the world. And whenever something bothers them, they can actually just say to themselves, should we just buy this? Because it's an option.
Google considered buying some or all of Epic during the Fortnite clash, court documents say. So, Epic was complaining about the whole revenue cut, and they were making a lot of noise. And people inside Google were like, we don't really want to draw a lot of attention to this right now. The timing's not good for us. Why don't we just buy Epic? And Tim Sweeney, the guy, Epic, was like, wow, we didn't know that. Like, that wasn't even on our radar that they were even talking to us. So it's really interesting that they were talking about that internally.
Think there was a number they could have thrown at him? Or
yeah,
did he already know what Fortnite had there?
Well, I mean, he didn't. I don't think that he probably had a number in mind, but Google ultimately didn't even initiate contact.
That Fortnite was such a juggernaut during that time. I don't know if I would have sold it for anything. I mean, because you don't know what the potential is.
It's still kind of a juggernaut.
A lot of people still play.
I wonder how many players they got. Engagement challenge. How many concurrent players is? I guess we probably don't know, right? Because we don't have like Steam apps for that or stats for that.
Oh yeah, probably not.
I know a lot of people like our age play it on their phones.
Oh,
like people they play with their kids.
It's crazy.
I guess if you want to bond with your kids, you got to do that these days, right?
Yeah.
Well, this shows how much the world just passes you by. Because I remember when this meme was the soft serve machine at McDonald's.
Oh yeah.
Those were always broken. I guess we don't have those anymore, right?
This is the upgraded version.
Yeah. So McDonald's switched from soft serve to the McFlurry, and apparently that is plagued with the same kind of repair issues. And I have definitely been to McDonald's where there was a machine with an out of order sign on it every time you go. Is it by design though? That's the scary question.
McFlurry Machine Company just got hit with a McRestraining restraining order. So there was a small company that was created to deal with these machines because it costs so much to maintain them, and franchise owners felt like that they were getting fleeced. Spoiler alert, looks to me like they were. And the McFlurry Machine Company got a hold of some of the stuff that this third party provides to monitor your McFlurry machine and help it not break down in order to try to reverse engineer how they're doing that so that they could presumably make their machine more insecure. But the judge is having none of that. The judge is like, there's enough evidence here that you're going against the whole idea of like a right to repair kind of a thing, that you're acting in bad faith. So the judge gave them an injunction to return any equipment that they had bought or anything that they had from the repair company, because the judge thought it was credible that they were trying to reverse engineer the repair company's products to try to defeat them or something.
And it seems like, I know we don't have all the details obviously, but it seems like based on this article The problem is almost completely software. So think about that. This is an ice cream machine. This could probably be analog.
Should probably be analog.
I mean, a digital temperature sensor is probably the most important thing there. You could use mercury for that if you wanted to. And what software is there to fail? So they're saying, I think what this third party did is they just sort of like bypassed that and did a sane kind of software. So that's not allowed.
I do think, I don't know what it is about ice cream technology that is a little unreliable, but like at my college we had an ice cream machine, but it wasn't like McDonald's or anything. It was just an ice cream machine, and it was always like constantly having problems. And I don't know why.
Well, they did point out one of the big things that they blame here is that the machine has to go from well below freezing to intense heat during the cleaning cycle.
Oh, maybe that's the problem.
And I guess you do have to clean it every day, right? Because it's dairy.
You have
But
to clean all
is there
that
any
stuff.
dairy in a McFlurry? Probably not, right?
How else will they get that creamy texture?
Oh, there's so many ways to do that. Have you seen the videos about the Walmart ice cream that doesn't melt?
No.
They get ice cream sandwiches from Walmart and then they put them outside on a fence post and put a time-lapse camera on it. It doesn't melt.
That's is that just like Walmart brand? Like it's not anything fancy. I bet all of them do that.
I don't remember. I think they found a couple that did it.
Ugh.
I mean, there's plenty of YouTube videos you can explore on your own. And the theaters. Are you guys getting ready to go back to the theaters?
No.
No.
No?
No.
Weird. Yeah, me either. Although I am really enjoying these day one releases, which is exactly what AMC hates.
Warner Brothers and AMC strike a 45-day exclusive theatrical window deal for 2022. We're especially pleased that Warner Brothers has decided to move away from, day and date. Okay.
I don't understand why day and date means
Uh-huh.
that. But yeah, they've pointed out lackluster performance from Black Widow and Suicide Squad. And a lot of people are saying, yeah, it's lackluster performance because you're giving it away on HBO Max. Stop doing that. And they've agreed. At least Warner Brothers has.
I'll say that. I mean, that makes sense to me. But also, it's so nice to be able to just watch a movie at your house and not deal with other people.
You know what the movies at my house never have? Ads.
Uh-huh.
I don't have to watch 20 ads before I start watching the movie. I don't have to have other people that I don't want there. I can go in the
floors
kitchen.
aren't sticky.
I can go in the kitchen, get a bottle of water. It doesn't cost $5. Costs like the 20 cents that I originally paid for it. I can imagine why people would like that more. But AMC is doing everything it can to bring people back, and one of those things is probably a bit of a gimmick.
AMC says it will accept Bitcoin as payment for movie tickets by year end.
Okay.
Now, if you're wondering how you transfer your Bitcoin at the ticket window, no, it's from an app. You have to use an app. You pre-buy your tickets.
Because probably some app developer was like, hey, I can just do this for you for free. And they were like, okay.
Who asked for this?
It's a PR thing. Like, you just fun for giggles.
Are there any movies that like might make you rethink going back? I don't think that there are.
No, you mean like movies that could be made or movies that are actually...
No, like movies that are coming out that you're like, okay, maybe I'd go to a theater for that.
No, I think Dune would be the biggest one, and I'm not going to go for that, right?
Yeah, I don't think I'll go. I'm interested in Dune, but not enough to go to a theater.
I thought Suicide Squad was actually pretty good, though.
That's what I've heard, but I haven't actually watched it for myself to say.
You know, it's dumb, and they did a lot of comedy and a lot of gore and stuff like that, but it kind of works. They went away from what Disney is doing, which I think is the only thing they can do. And, wow, putting the plus
What a
at the
weird
end
headline.
of things. Just putting a plus on everything. Everything has to have a plus now. Our diseases have to have it. Our streaming services, our delivery services, everything must have a plus.
Exclusive. Star Wars. Salesforce enters the streaming wars.
What a lackluster logo.
You don't like it?
No, and it's on a red back. Like they put this medium tone blue on red. If you were to convert this image to grayscale, it would be very low contrast.
I realize that's a pedestal with a red carpet coming down from it, but I like to imagine it's a pool of blood.
Yeah.
It's overflowing.
Yeah, it's overflowing toward the viewer.
You might be wondering, what kind of video is Salesforce going to stream to me? Well, it's all training related stuff. how to lead.
Weren't they also the ones that bought like lynda.com for training? Or was that LinkedIn?
I thought it was LinkedIn.
It might have been LinkedIn.
Lynda.
All these courses, though, seem like they are more for the leadership roles.
The inflection point, leading through the change. Simply put.
Boss talks.
Oh, I hate it. I have like a visceral reaction to that. Ugh.
So you can sign up for that if you want.
As someone who's been through the Lean Six Sigma training, it's like, oh, that sounds great.
I don't think they gave a price.
Well, how can you put a price on something like that?
Well, there's going to be a price.
How can you indeed?
They're also going to do live events and stuff like that. So you can do like a leadership conference live. How wonderful will that be?
Wow.
Well, it's interesting, the passage of time. You remember these events, and it was like, wow, that seemed like a long time ago.
Yeah.
And he's already getting out of prison? Yep, here we are.
Samsung leader J.Y. Lee has been granted parole, and he's going to leave prison last Friday.
So
he's been in 18 months.
So he actually got out, and then the court came back together, and they were like, wait a minute, no, go back in. And he was like, okay.
Aww.
But now it's parole, so he should be out for good. But here's the thing. In Korea, once you've been charged with this kind of crime, you can't go back into that kind of role at work. So they have to change the laws if he's ever going to take back the lead of Samsung. I think they'll change the laws.
You think?
It's Samsung, Krista.
Or they'll get it expunged.
Yeah,
or, there'll be some loophole.
They run that country. You know how the big banks and Disney and everything run it here?
Yeah.
That's what's going to happen there. And this is one of those things where it was like, we were assured 100% that's not going to happen. And if it does, you're crazy for thinking it does. We're just never going to do it. It's not going to happen. And yet.
Vodafone's latest UK carrier to reintroduce roaming charges in Europe. Why? Well, Brexit. That's an opportunity. It's like the same stuff that worked fine last time doesn't work now. No, roaming.
Never let a crisis go to waste. Now, this seems really expensive to me. This is going to be more expensive than most plans, right?
Yes. £2 a day.
Wow.
That's a lot. That's like £60 a month, which seems like way more. Because I've heard in Europe it's like super cheap to have a cell phone. It would be cheaper to just buy a cell phone for Brexit land and then buy a cell phone for not Brexit land.
A burner phone.
Yeah.
They probably check you at the border, make sure you got a license for it.
Is that an unlicensed cell phone?
No, sir, it's a Pez dispenser. Please don't beat me.
Is this a German phone? You're done, kid. You're done. This is a story we have seen several times. And, you got to say, all the surveillance technology, it's bad, but there are some silver linings, I guess.
Apple Watch credited with saving man's life after a fall. Now, he thought he had a kidney stone. He was misdiagnosed.
Oh.
And they said, it's a kidney stone. It was not a kidney stone. And he passed out and hit his head on a toilet or something. And the watch was like, hey, did you fall? And then it called for help.
And then 4 days later, post-brain surgery, he wakes up.
Yeah.
He had no idea.
So wait, what was wrong with him?
I don't...
Well, there's like some kind of an aneurysm or
But
something.
they also chose like a very triumphant photo. So I was like, oh, was he like in a marathon or something? No.
No, this probably was him because he's wearing the sticker. This is just a photo they had of him. He probably didn't... They were like, can we take a photo, sir? And he's like, yeah, they just cut my head off. Can we not do that right now?
Yeah.
But I don't remember exactly what was wrong with him. But yeah, he was in the hospital bathroom trying to relieve himself. Obviously, as someone who's had kidney stones, you feel like that the entire time. Like there's a pressure and you're like, I must get this out of me, but you can't. It's horrible. And smashed his head open and had bleeding in his brain.
Scary.
If you woke me up 4 days later and they were like, oh yeah, we did brain surgery, you were out, you had no idea, and I'll be like, you woke me up? I checked out with no pain and now you're bringing me back? Probably wouldn't be able to sue him for that.
If you had a DNR, you would.
I don't have that. Huawei, we know for a while now, has just been trying to live in a world where everybody is attacking them. How do you do it? Well, they've actually done a reasonable job.
Huawei chairman says the aim is to survive as revenues slide to 29%.
But quarter over quarter, it's coming back. They felt like it was good news.
Well, if no one will buy stuff from us, we can at least sell to Iran. I presume.
Yeah, they have several different arms of the company, and one of them at least was keeping them afloat where the other ones were atrophying quickly. They're being honest about it, though. Our aim is to survive. I guess that's everybody's aim, isn't it?
Same, bro.
This is the one that is it's really breaking my heart because I'm waiting for this to happen in my neighborhood.
I don't know. They've cried wolf on stuff like this a bunch of times. And so, like, if they are legit having a problem now, then, you know, in the past, they've not really been having a problem.
It is AT&T, so yeah, anything they say we can't assume might be a lie. Although they say they're better positioned than everybody else in the industry for dealing with this.
AT&T delays 500,000 fiber to the home builds due to severe fiber shortage. AT&T planned to wire up 3 million homes this year, but will hit 2.5 million instead.
They also point out that AT&T makes a ton of money off of their fiber customers, which raises the question of why have they fought this for so long?
Because they were going to make that money regardless.
Yeah.
Probably true. We can either make a lot of money, or we can make a lot of money and not upgrade our infrastructure at the same time. Does seem like a simple choice.
They don't have to pay anybody to upgrade it.
WhatsApp has introduced a new feature, which I guess is important to you. I'm not a WhatsApp user, but I can see how, like, your entire life being locked into an operating system would be bad, right?
WhatsApp gains the ability to transfer chat history between mobile operating systems. There's still no way to export or import, but now at least you can move between Android and iPhone with some impunity. This is so ridiculous that in this day and age that it's hard to get your data out of an app.
And you know that they have a way internally
Yes.
of just dumping that into a rigid structure that's always the same.
Yep.
Now here's the thing about it, though. You're thinking, well, how can you not have an export if you're going to move it from one phone to the other? How do you do it? Well, you have to use the Samsung app to do that. The data movement app. And that will let you do that. Rolling this out for the new Galaxy Foldable. I guess they expect a lot of iPhone users to pick up
switch to the
foldables.
foldable.
Yeah.
Well,
They're going to be bitterly disappointed.
as a result of this being on the Android side, it's built into the Google Transfer tool now, so it'll do that. But yeah, just upgrading like from Android to Android, old phone to new phone. I don't think anybody in Google actually experiences the horror of doing that. It's only okay for like a few built-in applications, and then after that, it's a wasteland of awful.
Yeah, well, everything's fine with your Google account.
Yeah, it's like you're not doing stuff completely 100% in the cloud, including all your photos and media and movies and stuff that take forever to upload because the cell service sucks around here. Sorry.
It sucks to suck.
Yeah.
Well, one thing about the modern big tech company playbook is when one of your competitors falters a bit, you must capitalize immediately. Immediately, you take whatever the world doesn't like about your enemy and you grandstand about how you don't do that.
Facebook's WhatsApp takes aim at Apple over child safety software plan. This approach introduces something very concerning into the world ahead of the Facebook platform. So this is that thing that we were talking about before, the iCloud thing. It's like, don't use iCloud photos and then blah, blah, blah.
It's the hash check against your images. And so they're saying we will never do that.
Well, WhatsApp hasn't been threatened, I'm sure, by law enforcement to be like, we know there's naughty things on your server. We'll come after you.
In some ways, isn't this kind of like saying, welcome, child exploiters.
Yeah.
Come over here.
Yeah.
All are welcome. You guys ever see that movie?
Yeah.
Krista hasn't seen it.
No, I don't watch movies.
My favorite, it was Friend Face on the IT crowd. They had it like a whole...
Oh, yeah. It's funny how the parodies of them turn out to just be the same thing.
Yeah.
They don't have to change it that much. Well, Twitter is in a little bit of hot water because, you guessed it, AI racism.
Twitter algorithm prefers the slimmer, younger, and lighter-skinned faces. So this was an actual study, and it was surprised that even the people inside Twitter. It's like, that's weird. If you're an old black person, it seems to like not even crop on your face. It's just like, nah, we don't want to look at that.
I'd say if you're just old in general. I never see old people on Twitter.
Doesn't everybody prefer slimmer and younger? Those are pretty universally preferred. And, I don't know about the light skin stuff, but I think that is probably just the machine learning part, right? Because it's bad at that.
It's trying to figure out where to crop your images and like where to, emphasize something.
So they are going to maybe make some changes there. We'll see.
Wouldn't the default just be like center it? Or you could do like, Drupal has that thing where you can like choose where you want to emphasize the image. That's what they should add.
But they're trying to do that automatically.
Yeah.
It's auto crop. And you might have more than one person in the picture.
Oh,
so it could crop out individual shots from that. Turns out it's really good at some of them, not others. And the number one spot for the most downloaded app, that's a big thing. If you can get that, you're doing okay. And Mark Zuckerberg cannot be happy about this one.
TikTok overtakes Facebook as world's most downloaded app.
I could see that. That's very hot with the Zoomers.
And now we've got, fresh assurances from the Chinese government that they're going to make sure the big business is not abusing the data.
Well, they're going to make sure that the data is only stored on their server. That's the only thing they've promised so far.
Well, everyone's kind of chasing TikTok now. They want they want to do like the shorts on YouTube.
YouTube is definitely sending
Instagram's doing it.
all
Twitter's doing
the traffic to the shorts.
Yeah.
Do you remember when Twitter first started? And we were like, oh my God, what kind of world are we going to be in if we communicate in these small little spurts? Well, here we
are.
Here we are.
This is the evolution of it.
How will that be in video? Are we going to start doing news in short format?
Yeah.
Oh, just an orange soda review in like 10 seconds. What a nightmare that would be for the viewers.
Maybe we should start a TikTok and do parody videos about how it's impossible to discuss anything in that length of time. Like, just give them, But what if we did that and then it became really popular, unironically?
It's just
and then we'd be on TikTok.
We're going to start this really long process, and it's like, here's a bag of transistors, and then it just cuts, and it's like, plug the motherboard into it. It's like, wait, how do you go
back.
from transistors to...
And then it shows you like the 10th one in the series because nothing's in order on TikTok.
Yeah.
There's a lot of parody videos of programming tutorials that are like that, and it's pretty accurate. Well, I'll tell you what, if we wanted to get a bunch of followers quickly, I bet these guys could help us.
How a fake network pushes pro-China propaganda. I've seen in our comments sometimes when we say certain things about the scratch and dent used kidney program that they pop up in the comments and are like, they all say the same thing.
And it's especially the Hong Kong stuff.
Yeah.
If we say anything about Hong Kong, they show up.
Yeah, because the transcription thing is like, oh, something went off, and then they show up, and then...
You can participate this week by looking for those comments today. But yeah, they figured out that so these were mostly Turkish users for whatever reason, that they would steal their accounts and then change the profile picture, and then they would start posting in a very predictable manner about very predictable topics.
Yeah.
You think U.S. almost certainly does this, right? Well, they'll post like pro-U.S.
Remember the
stuff.
Air Force program?
Oh yeah.
We admitted we were doing it. They after that stopped talking about that. Oh, but what about? And I bet the post office program does this as well.
There's still a lawsuit going on about that one. We'll find out in about 5 years.
Well, guess what Miss Designer doesn't know about?
Oh, I actually do know. Now that I've seen this headline, I've seen this before.
But you didn't know the name of it. Corporate Memphis. I wonder how it got that name.
I don't know.
But I hate it. Do you hate it?
I don't mind it. I think it started to reach its peak like a year and a half ago. It's been going on for a couple of years now.
Well,
there's actually things for this. Anyway.
They actually explain that.
Yeah.
It turns out that everybody who is forced to make this hates it. But the corporate world has decided that this is what we're going to see from now on.
Yeah. Why is tech illustration stuck on repeat? Ask the overworked, underpaid illustrators. And there's an example of that art style. Is this from a Human? There's actually now stock photo setups where you can like mix and match components of these and like make illustrations, but they don't actually require an illustrator. But then they end up looking really generic, and every site uses them.
I remember Robinhood adopted this,
Mm-hmm.
and there was another big one. Microsoft Teams kind of does a little bit.
Yeah. Now, if you want to see an example of like an illustration site that's done well, I would say MailChimp is pretty good. Its illustrations are weird though; they look nothing like this, and you can tell that they actually probably paid an illustrator to develop their visual look.
And
but this is just like, it's just stock photos, but illustrations.
And they kind of point out that no one is ballsy enough to get away from this.
No.
So we're just doing, and it kind of checks all the boxes because you can tell the people they're not a distinct race.
Mm-hmm.
They're just sort of a nice, pleasant in-between color. And their proportions are like, there's nothing feminine or masculine about it.
Yeah, they're very unassuming.
Yeah.
I actually, last year, I guess, I tried to do illustrations for a client, or tried to get them to go in that way, and I did several samples for them. They weren't in this style, and they were like, I don't know, I feel like illustrations are kind of like, they've seen their course, and I was like, that's probably true. I think it's probably a dying trend. Though we'll probably see it for a little while longer, because it is very corporate now.
Yeah, well, can't die soon enough. Good riddance. This might make me think about getting into VR.
Oh.
This is incredible. We've needed this for so long, especially in podcast style games, meaning a game that I play where I'm listening to a podcast instead of the game audio, which I do very often.
Steam VR Beta lets you arrange desktop windows inside your virtual world. Windows could previously only be docked to your controller.
So you could monitor your teams like you're doing under the table,
Yeah.
while you're playing a game. Or think about this. One of those trucker sim games, or they pointed out Elite Dangerous, where you're just flying through the galaxy for
You
hours
watch
at a
a
time.
YouTube video in your spaceship.
And it's not docked to anything. It's just floating in your VR world. So you don't have to look at it all the time, but it's there if you want to look at it.
I like that.
I do too. I love that.
I really look forward to having a lightweight, breathable VR headset.
Breathable.
So like
Augmented reality.
when I'm on the airplane or whatever, I've just got a tiny little display clipped to my face, and it's just like, a wall of monitors in front of me.
How great would it be, or will it be? We'll get this where you'll be able to like pattern match someone's face and just put something else on top of it. Like, whenever you talk to me, it just plays a pleasant video and makes the Charlie Brown teacher noises.
I think that would be amazing.
There's going to be a lot of relationships that end when one of the partners puts on the glasses and finds out that there's a filter for them. Well, I guess you'd never. Oh, if you look in the mirror, that's when they
Yeah,
find
you
it
would
out.
know.
Well, that's going to be a great TV show eventually, right? A moment in like
Episode
a
of
movie
Black
or a
Mirror.
TV show. Yeah. And here we go, Krista. I don't like it, but you said that
I
you
think it's
kind of
fine.
did. I expect you to defend it.
Twitter's new font Chirp is apparently giving some users headaches.
I got the new font. I don't care.
Yeah, I don't.
Now, is this the font?
No.
No, not on
No,
here because it's an
okay.
embed.
So it's only on the app then?
Yeah, or just on the website. I don't have the app.
It's on the website too. The native website.
Yeah,
Well, it doesn't look too bad in that blue thing there.
no. I think maybe what people are reacting to is that it seems a little bit smaller than the previous font, and that might be why people are upset.
Well, I
I
think
was going to say it seems like it's got a little bit more character spacing, so it's a little bit more work to like read the words because they're longer.
But I think a lot of people are turned off about how it looks when it scrolls.
That's because their displays are garbage.
Oh, well, I mean, it wasn't. Maybe a font will mitigate a garbage display, and this one doesn't.
That's one of
They
the
can, yeah.
one of the things Microsoft with their font engineering in like the Windows 2000 and on eras is they try to take into account the subpixel layout of LCD screens in the font smoothing and the design of the font, or so I've read, to make it more legible across a wide variety of crappy displays.
That's why Comic Sans was so popular for so long, was because like early displays, it would smooth out how ugly it actually is. And people were like, oh, I can read that really well. And then when we finally got better displays, it was like, wow, this is
This is crap.
this is hideous. Yeah.
How I bet this explains it. I bet every designer that worked on this only ever looked at it on a pixel display.
Maybe, yeah. I don't think it's that big. Here's the thing with big brands. They always just make lateral moves. They don't do anything major, and it's because people lose their minds over things like the font changing.
Yeah,
It's
well,
not that big of a deal, as long as it's still legible.
they certainly lost their mind, Krista, as you can imagine. I don't know. Is it something about Twitter users that are just always complaining?
No, it can't be the user base.
It gives me a headache. I don't want it.
I think it's fine.
Spam,
I didn't notice
spam,
anything
spam.
dramatic.
Lovely spam.
Also, you know,
Wonderful spam.
And I know we're perpetuating it by doing this, but how lazy is the string of tweets article?
Yeah. I mean, we're like I said, we're just quoting people, so we're not doing much better, but like
How lazy is this news video where they just find crap online and talk about it?
Yeah, wow. I don't know. How do you feel about Chirp Engagement Challenge?
I wondered if it was a custom font. It looked like just one that you could pick up off any font site, so that's interesting.
Oh, they definitely made it.
They
probably-
found it and then tweaked it and then
I
put
bet
together.
they spent a lot of money tweaking it.
Yeah. Oh, probably. There's a lot of work that goes into making fonts, as it turns out. To draw every character.
All right, Krista.
All right. Is that it? Okay. Bye. Sorry, weird. Bye. Oh, I lied. It's August. Hello. It's August 20th.
20th.
20th. And today we're doing space, robot, and nonsense. It's a good day. This is all the best sections of the news.
Arguable.
Wendell,
I mean, business is strong.
business is sometimes strong. Wendell got a water.
I'm done with orange for today.
And we were talking in the first episode. What region is that from? Does it say?
Oh yeah,
That's Kroger water.
CA, CRV, or 10 cents.
It'll say bottled from X and X Spring and so.
Maybe they don't do it on the individual.
reverse osmosis technologies. That's all it says.
That's probably just white box water that somebody else makes in Kroger brands, right?
It does say CAOR. Is that Canada or not Canada? California, Oregon.
I think that's a 10-cent deposit.
Yeah.
You can take this bottle somewhere. And
That's
get
just the
10 cents.
regulatory stuff. They don't have to tell you where it comes from, I don't think.
Please recycle.
It's from the Kentucky River. You just got swamp water.
It was packaged without BPA.
It doesn't matter where it's from as long as they put it through those filters. But you did point out that there might be a slight issue with Zevia.
Oh
I
yeah,
think we should probably warn people.
It burned
about
my taste buds off.
that's a little aggressive though, right?
Maybe that's why you don't mix it. Now, did you experience anything like that the other week when you just drank one by itself?
I think it might be because I literally had both cans.
A little too much.
It's a
little
lot.
too much.
Yeah.
Everything in moderation, including orange soda.
Yeah, definitely. One orange soda per news is the right number. I mean, it's probably twice or three times the carbonation of, the Orange Crush standby.
Well, once again, I cannot come up with a transition to go
There's
from
not
that to SpaceX.
A swarm of sodas.
You have drank a swarm of sodas recently.
Yeah.
And I think that might be catching up to you.
Yeah, maybe.
And you know what's catching up to SpaceX? Actually, nothing, because they're way out ahead of everybody in the world, and they're so far ahead, they're snapping up competitors.
SpaceX is buying a satellite data startup, Swarm, a rare acquisition by Elon Musk's space company. So basically, Swarm thought of something that he didn't and was like, oh, crap. Okay, well, let's just buy him.
Interestingly, I don't think any of these will be going into the Starlink type of stuff. The thing that their satellites are famous for, whether there's something B, some kind of B satellite, Space B. They're the tiniest satellites you can buy.
Neat.
Maybe these are like a stealth project. Maybe it's like, oh, you're going to complain about me ruining space. Oh, we'll make them smaller. And some sad robot news.
Oh.
I have faith,
Sad
though.
beeping noises.
Just because you fail on your first attempt doesn't mean that you should give up. Perseverance. Keep trying. Persevere.
Oh.
NASA's Perseverance team is assessing the first Mars sampling attempt. There's a crater there. They were not successful in getting the sample. I guess this was harder than they expected.
Well, we're not sure. There might be more details now, but so the whole thing is automated. There's a button that you push that's collect sample. You don't control anything manually, obviously, because of the lag time. They got the drill. Obviously, we can see they drilled the hole. They put the sample collection container in there. Then they stored it. But after they weighed it, after it was stored, it doesn't seem like it changed weights at all.
We don't have a sample.
There's multiple pictures there. Scroll through. See the arrows? Are there any other good ones?
That's not Mars.
That sure looks like a hole to me. A darn fine hole on another planet.
I suppose that's the drill.
Well, it was less exciting of a slideshow than I'd hoped for.
Did you think there would be pictures of something other than a hole in the dirt?
I was hoping like maybe they'd see a picture of the sample. Like they checked the weight and they're like, that's not right. And then maybe they took a picture of the sample, but
Nah, they have a picture of the jar in one of the things I was reading, but I don't think we ever saw the sample because it might not exist.
yeah.
I'll show you a picture of the sample, Krista.
There's nothing.
There it is.
There's nothing in it.
What are you talking about?
Now, SpaceX, I think if I were going to go to space and I had to choose one of the space companies, I'd probably choose SpaceX. What about you,
Yeah.
Krista?
Yeah, probably SpaceX. They've got the longest track record.
They've definitely brought the most ships back.
Yeah.
They're the ones who've actually been to the space station. But if you recall the price tag on their trip, I believe it was $28 million.
Yeah, a little high.
Kind of high. Virgin Galactic, they're slashing prices.
Virgin Galactic says a trip to space aboard its rocket plane is going to start at $450,000 per seat.
Well,
now,
let's
remember,
get two.
They define space as like the nearer space. It's not the farther space. It's
And you
not
don't-
the 60 miles.
And you don't get to spend very much time.
No.
No.
So you do get less for your money. But
It's a steal, though. It's a bargain.
what if, do you think that he would let Bezos buy every seat on the plane? And then just be like, we're not going, but send it anyway. Just put stuffed animals in the seats.
The stuffed animals go ahead of the Make-A-Wish Foundation kid who then dies.
If I had that much money, I'd do stuff like that.
Just piss people off.
You think the world hates Bezos? Wow, would they hate me? You guys heard of Bennu before? We've heard Bennu's
Oh,
been
yeah,
in the
yeah.
news.
I think so.
I think we did an article on him like 17 years ago.
Wow, you're gonna gender it. Bennu, it's kind of one of those specters that people love. I think this is kind of Krista's deal with black holes. It's kind of fun to be afraid of something that massive and hard to get your head around.
Oh, no.
Sorry.
But good news about Bennu.
Scientists fine-tune the odds of asteroid Bennu hitting Earth through 2300 with NASA probe's help. You can rest a little bit easier, NASA says. NPR did an article on this too, but they had a different take. It turns out that we've imaged 95 to 98% of the asteroids anywhere near us that are about a kilometer or larger, and it seems like the Earth is in pretty good shape to not get hit with anything for at least a couple of 100 years.
NASA's like, if we last that long, and then they start crying and drinking in their offices.
Yeah.
Womp womp.
If any of us are alive in 2300, we'll probably be praying for death.
Well, I was going to say, it's probably the planet will just heat up so much, it won't matter.
I prayed for death, but death won't come.
That'd be like one of those Warhammer things where we're attached to our computers and they demand that we keep cranking out changes to a certain GitHub.
What could possibly go wrong?
You didn't make enough commits this week. You will not get your glucose paste.
No.
And SpaceX, like we say, head and shoulders above everybody else, maybe more than head and shoulders, maybe light years ahead if we're using space talk. And they do have a very impressive looking vehicle.
Musk says, this is a dream come true to fully see the stacked SpaceX Starship rocket during prep for orbital launch.
Look at it.
It's like Lego.
What do you think about the black color, Krista?
I think that's on brand for Musk.
It's going to show dirt, though.
It is. And there's a lot of dirt in space.
So here's a picture of just that's the heavy, right? The heavy booster. Yeah, the super heavy. God, that is big. When you put the building in context and the cranes,
Yeah.
it's large.
We got to get all that stuff into space.
It's a lot of horsepower.
Gotta build that space bunker.
Pretty cool. They got to put all the heat shields and stuff on it, so it's not 100% complete yet, but
Well, that's
a
just
small
some
step.
hot glue in a weekend, right?
Yeah.
It's like a craft project.
Well, you got to be real careful because remember that one where the time we got the heat shields wrong? The one
Yeah.
NASA did?
Oops.
Yeah, that caused the
That
problem.
was a bad day.
We've heard a lot about this. They say that this is here now. I can't imagine it's very good, right?
It's not.
I got to think that. What are the? If you run this 100 times, how many times do you get compile errors?
Microsoft is a big believer in this, and they've got a version of this that's kind of like built into their Power Automate tool, where you can just be like, you can, in natural language, you could be like, when I get an email and it's from this person, light it on fire. You could kind of do that.
Well, that kind of stuff is, would you call that programming? I guess you would.
Yeah.
OpenAI's Codex turns written language into computer code. You just tell the computer what you want, and it fills out the editor.
This stock image.
Not good.
Is this the recursion of a computer writing code? Is that what we're...
I think that's what they were going for.
Yeah, okay. I kind of get it. I'm not worried about my job security. Are you, based on that?
Every few years, someone will be like, "Oh, this thing's gonna get rid of your job," and it never happens. I mean, eventually it probably will be right, but
It might be a problem in a generation or two, but it's not going to be a problem for us. Not until we retire.
Now-
we retire.
We're never going to be able to retire. What are you talking about? They're going to move the
Till we
Social Security
die.
age to like 95.
Yeah, and we'll all be, the new normal. We'll all just be at home anyway, so you don't have to go anywhere. Until you get dementia, you will be a slave to your console doing stuff online.
They're going to be the YouTubers of the day that are doing videos, and it's like, oh my gosh, my Amazon customer support rep was 98 years old.
I couldn't even understand him. He had such a weird dialect.
It was cool, though, because he had augments on his ears. He was able to hear everything I said.
They look like elf ears.
Now, I will introduce this story by saying, remember that Google wanted to get into, and I think they did, and maybe Amazon as well, wanted to get into anonymized medical data. Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
They were going to make it completely anonymous, and everybody was like, wait, how do you do that? And they're like, yeah, we just make it anonymous. It's so easy
We're
to do.
all the same on the inside.
Don't worry. It's super anonymous. You don't have to worry about that.
AI algorithms are uncannily good at spotting your race from medical scans, Boffins warned. For certain races, it's 80% accurate.
No, that was...
At the low end.
that was-
99%.
it wasn't certain races, right? It was certain algorithms.
Oh.
They have different algorithms, and the best one, 99%.
Wow.
They can't explain it. Because there's differences between males and females in terms of, bone density and hip shape and skull shape.
I learned that from the hit TV show Bones.
But I don't think that the differences between the races are that pronounced. Or maybe they are, but we just
Maybe
miss it.
maybe they're looking at certain disease prevalence,
No.
Is this a win for humanity that the doctors are blind to race when they're looking at x-rays?
I don't know if that's a win or not, because then in medicine that could be
Well,
important.
I'm wondering, because
No, what
I
they
know
did-
black people have a higher incidence of diabetes, for example. So it's are they looking at that as well?
No, not at all. All they're looking at is scans, like x-rays of your body. Actually, it's just x-rays. X-rays of chest, hands, chest and hands, and then label each image according to the patient's race.
Oh, yeah. Didn't they say that knuckles, the knuckles on the hands were different on the different races, and they'd never noticed that before, but then once the computer pointed it out, it was like, oh, yeah.
That's interesting.
So now when somebody says, we're all the same, you'd be like, no, our knuckles are actually different.
There's a minuscule difference that humans can't even see, actually.
Don't be that person, YouTube commenters, because you're already those people.
Don't be that person.
Don't poop on the carpet. I don't understand.
I poop on the carpet at home.
Do you think anybody at Ford, when they were, the marketing people were getting together, did anybody bring up as this sounds a lot like Blue's Clues?
Yeah.
People are going to make fun of that. Should we maybe rethink it? I don't know. If we
No.
can.
We tested Ford's Blue Cruise hands-free driving, and here's what it's like. I, for one, embrace our new robotic overlords. The short version is, it's pretty good. They think it outperforms Tesla in some regards. They also think it's insanely dangerous in other regards.
There's an even shorter version. It's Super Cruise. It's the Cadillac one. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
It only works on certain roads, but it does a really good job when it's on those roads.
Yeah.
Let me guess, they're all flat, straight,
Yep.
Mostly
out in
interstate.
Arizona.
Yeah, mostly interstates.
Yeah.
But there's 100,000 miles of mapped roads, and I guess they're adding to it. Well, I
Uh,
don't know what they're doing, but
big deal.
you get this on the new Mustang Mach-E, which is not really a Mustang, and the F-150. But not yet. It's not out yet.
I will be impressed when we get a self-driving car that can handle Eastern Kentucky roads.
Yeah, I don't think
Until
any of
then.
I doubt any of the 100,000 miles is in any of those counties. I almost threw out some county names, and I was like, "Well, no, don't do that."
No, they can't know. I mean, there's limited options, but they can't know.
So we found out recently that we know that these production companies are getting into using deepfakes for their own purposes, and we saw that somewhat embarrassingly in the Star Wars world, where both Leia and Luke were very poorly done and then corrected by a young man with a regular PC.
By some internet bozo.
Who now works for them. But other companies are also looking to get in on this.
Warner Brothers is using personalized deepfakes for its latest movie promo. Basically, you upload your picture, and then you watch the trailer, and by the time you get to the end of the trailer, you're in the trailer.
What are the odds? What are the odds that you just went into a facial recognition database when you do that?
So they can use you in other advertisements or 100%. CGI projects.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Definitely don't do that if you're privacy-minded. But it is cool.
I remember when Subservient Chicken was cool.
Remember when we used to be able to put your head in some of the sports games on the consoles?
Yeah.
It wasn't good.
Yeah. This same face replacement thing is not even really new. I mean, deepfakes is new, but there were promos for certain things that were done in Flash, and you'd watch the movie trailer, and then it would, shock you by being like, "Wait a minute, that's me, and I'm in this horrible thing that's happening on the screen."
Those were also not great.
Yeah.
Some grainy video.
Yeah.
I remember that one though, where the guy was like in a scary room. Is that the one you're talking about?
Yeah.
And he was doing all the but it was you. He was coming after you.
Yeah.
Did they ever make that into anything?
No. That was total PR stunt.
Expensive marketing. That's what that was.
Yeah.
Now, we are not big sports people, but even as a non-sports person and definitely a non-soccer person, because, we're here in the good old US of A, I know that Lionel Messi is a big name. He is, I think he's considered to be one of the best ever to live. So it's a big deal when he switches teams.
Soccer superstar Messi is being paid partly in crypto by the PSG.
PSG being one of those teams. I don't know what that stands for.
Is that like a thing to get out of taxes, you think?
No, it's actually kind of a money-making thing. So the crypto he's being paid in is not Bitcoin or Ethereum. It's the PSG fan token.
Of course.
Yeah, because that's the thing.
Now you're wondering, well, why would they publicize this and why would they do this? What does this matter to me? Well, I can answer that with one screenshot.
Ooh.
See those green candles? That's a 50% increase since they announced it.
They knew what was happening. So,
Mr. Messi, you think they paid him in the crypto up front, or does he have to wait and get it every week?
Probably both. Probably give him a huge amount up front, and then he still has to get it over time.
That is just a part of the $41 million. So I think he'll be liquid enough to deal with it, even if there's market fluctuations. Oregon is making some changes to their curriculum. Now, we've seen a lot of curriculum changes through the years. We had the Common Core Math. Not a good one.
No.
That one didn't seem good. Now we have critical race theory. Yeah, it doesn't seem great, but both may be pale in comparison to this.
Governor Kate Brown signed into law an Oregon thing that will allow students to graduate without proving they can write or do math, and she does not want to talk about it.
Isn't this just No Child Left Behind?
It's like, okay, look, we've had a bad year or two. Let's just call them mulligans on your high school education. It's fine. Never mind the students that worked really hard.
Right.
Everybody gets a pass.
Never mind the fact that even if you don't, you need to do math and write in everyday life. You can't enter a contract for a rental or anything else if you don't know how to read and write.
People do it every day. I
Yeah.
know people do manage to get through life without reading it, which is astonishing to me.
I think that's probably that was more easy to do back in the day. I don't know how people do it now.
So
because it's so easy to be taken advantage of if you can't read what you're actually signing your life away to.
But think about this: if you can't read, you can never get fished. So a lot of people pointed out, they were like, well, standardized testing is stupid. I agree. Standardized testing is stupid. But this wasn't just standardized testing. Sure, you could pass one of 3 standardized tests to prove. But if you didn't do that, you could also do an oral presentation, or you could do a project and have that judged to prove your reading and writing and basic math. Now, none of that.
So don't worry about it. You passed.
Yeah, just get out of here. Just scamper on out of here. Make some babies and get them back in this system. That's what we want.
No, go sign up for a bunch of student loans that you can't dismiss through bankruptcy.
Yeah.
Don't read that fine print because you can't read it anyway.
Do you think, now that I'm asking you this question, I'm thinking that maybe the answer could be yes. Do you think you could get into an American university not knowing how to read or write?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
You
I think
think
you
so?
could.
Yes.
Maybe not. Oh, no. Turn it off, turn it off, turn it off.
Absolutely, you could. You know why? Because they want those student loan dollars.
Yeah, they don't care. It's like you might not get into a great university, but you could get into a university.
That would be a great hidden camera type of deal, right? Like go to a community college and be like, listen, I'm approved for all, here's my paperwork for my funding and everything, but I got to admit something to you and see how
can't
far
read.
that goes.
Yeah.
Yeah, will they try to get you to sign on
I think
after admitting you can't read?
you know how the state and federal auditors will just go to random gas stations and fill like a 1 and a 5 gallon container to make sure that it's exactly perfectly accurate for.
yeah.
I think we should, if we've got this whole crazy Department of Education, I think we should have people like that are undercover illiterates.
It's tough to draft kids to do that, though.
Yeah. I suppose that's true.
Maybe we could remember the girl who was the lure on To Catch a Predator?
Oh yeah,
Yeah, she was like 24, but she looked 12.
she really did.
We
yeah,
need to get people like that.
to do that.
Put 'em
To
in the
show
school
up. Just
system.
like, I'm not literate. Like I was like, oh, we're gonna put you in English 400 to start, and you'll be fine. Don't worry about it.
Wouldn't that be kind of a nightmare, though?
Yeah.
Like you're with just a bunch of young people who think you're also young, but you're not.
But it would be a good, it'd be good. It'd be good for finding the schools that just want your money versus the ones that are like trying to actually give you a higher education.
But I think the majority want your money.
Yeah.
Even if they do have educational programs there and they do care about your education, they want your money.
The purge, though, resulting from all of that fraud would only be beneficial for mankind. Anyway.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I feel about the jab. I don't think it's the Thanos thing, but if it was, take the really obedient and just jettison them. I mean, present company would suffer. Some of us. That would suck. But so you remember Galaxy's Edge?
Yes.
Galaxy's Edge was a hot new Disney property that was all Star Wars, and boy, those prices. Those little, it was like a 6-ounce Coke, right?
Yeah.
Was $7 or $8.
It just looked like a regular old Caribbean resort with some Disney branding.
Yeah, well, it must have been pretty successful because they've gone further.
Disney World finally releases prices for its new Galactic Star Cruiser Star Wars Hotel. It's going to cost you $5,000 for 2 nights.
That's if you're going by yourself. By yourself. Add a kid, it adds like another $600. Add a partner, and it adds like another $1,200.
I'm just over here vomiting in my mouth.
Well, wait, Krista, till you see these amazing, luxurious accommodations.
I mean, they look cool, but geez, that is so much money. For 2 days, you could have a whole trip to Gatlinburg for that price.
If you go
multiple trips to Gatlinburg.
If you go by it yourself for $5,000, does it include the crazy alien escort?
You mean like a romantic escort?
Yeah.
What are those, the girls with like the big
Yeah.
blue things?
Yeah. That's Fifth Element, but yeah.
No, I'm talking about like
the other ones.
The ones
yeah,
that
yeah.
were in the cantina.
Yeah,
This-
I mean, that'd be fine.
This room's super futuristic, but then if you look, there's a vent. Like just a regular old air vent in this photo.
Well, even Disney can't defeat the local codes enforcement.
Oh yeah, they were like, we really don't want to have air conditioning. They're like, sir, this is Florida.
Well, also, they know their customers. There's going to be a fire.
Yeah.
Eventually, there's going to be a fire. But the thing about it is, so the whole idea here, and this is kind of another crazy part about it, right? This package doesn't get you into the rest of the park.
Oh, screw that.
You spend your entire time in this building, which is supposed to be a starship, right? Like your whole week, or actually it's not
2
even a week.
days.
It's 3 days. Yeah, two days and 3 nights, I think. You spend your whole time as if you're on the starship, which, like the hallways and the rooms are small because that's how it is on the starship. Plus, they're trying to pack people in there. The only time you can leave is to get on the shuttle to go to the Galaxy's Edge and come back.
Well, obviously.
But they are going to take care of you all your food free with your $6,000 payment, but not booze. You have to buy your own booze.
So this is way cheaper than what you could do with Virgin Galactic. So
That's true.
go to space with this.
You could just pretend to be in space. But they point out that like the really, really amazing Grand Hotel that is in Disney World, that you can like literally stay in the park, $600 a night.
Yeah.
So quite a bit of savings.
I will never understand the weird obsession with Disney and spending this amount of money.
I'm going to go and stay in the Magic Castle by myself, and I want a Disney princess to wake me up every morning.
Now, they do point out that some people in the past have shut down Epcot for the night for a birthday. They didn't price that. I imagine it's high.
Probably somewhere north of $5,000, would you say?
Somewhat, yeah. Especially if you add a partner.
Didn't Michael Jackson do something once that was like $15 or $20 million at Disney? I think there was a bunch of kids though.
Oh. Well, that's dark. And one thing about computers, we've built them, they're amazing, and we keep pushing the envelope, and it's incredible, but the one inside your skull outpaces it by a long shot, and it runs just on stuff you find lying on the ground. It's incredible. How can we mimic it?
Synthetic brain cells that store memories are possible, a new model has revealed. So
Heavy breathing from Elon Musk right now.
So it's not so much the density of the storage or the speed, it's just the efficiency of the whole thing that they're trying to copy. Because if you plug your brain up to a power supply, like a modern CPU power supply, there'd be way too much power.
Yeah.
You don't need it.
Yeah, it's only like 25, 35 watts.
It's very low, yeah. This is
nonsense.
This has nothing to do with tech. Like, how do you pass this headline up? You see this headline, you got to talk about it, right?
O.J. Simpson says he's worried he'll run into the real killer if he goes to L.A. O.J. Simpson claims he won't go to Los Angeles and run the risk of falling victim to the real killer of his ex-wife and her friend in 1994.
Now, I remember in 1994, we were young, but we were watching this, and the whole world watched it. We watched this at school.
I was a child. I don't remember this.
And I remember after the trial, in his press release, one of the things he said was he will find the real killer, and he will not give up. Now it seems like he's got an avenue to find him. He's not even going to do it.
No, I'm not going to go there.
He's afraid the killer will get him. Didn't you read the headline?
He's a coward. O.J. Simpson is a coward. Also, I recommend reading this article because, like, if you're O.J. Simpson, there's some things that you should just never say to the public, right? He says every single one of them. He talks about how good his life is, how much women love him. He spends 5 days a week on a golf course. People take him to expensive dinners, and he's just telling them, oh yeah, I'm a killer, but I'm living the life.
Wow. Scary.
Yeah, he is scary. He's a killer. And this one is even more scary. I know that Krista often gets mad at me for adding really depressing stuff.
This one was very depressing. I saw this.
People need to know about this. This is out there.
California dad killed his kids over QAnon and serpent DNA conspiracy theories, the feds claim. So you can go read this article and get some more details, but goodness gracious.
Maybe if your mental health is struggling, like mine often is, maybe don't read the details in this article.
I don't think you're on this level, Krista.
No, I'm saying like it's depressing to read it, and reading the details will make you more depressed.
Yeah, well, I've been in a pool of darkness much deeper than this recently, so I'm fine with this. It seems to me now the lizard people conspiracy theory has been around since before we were born.
Yeah,
but somehow it's merged with QAnon here. You think that's on purpose, or is that just this guy's?
Probably just Hillary Clinton in the news.
Yeah, I think that. Well, Alex Jones always goes on and on about, the lizard people.
You hear some of the stuff that Alex Jones says, and then you look at some of the stuff from Hillary Clinton, and it's like, oh.
I don't think Alex Jones is one of the lizard people guys, is he? I thought that was another guy.
No, he says that because you've never heard the folk song, the Alex Jones folk song.
I've heard him talk about the intergalactic vampire or interdimensional vampires.
Yeah, he's talked about that. There's also episodes where he talks about they're like lizards and they smell like sulfur.
Well, interdimensional pockets would be a great place for vampires to hide. I mean, that makes sense.
Oh yeah, it's all logical.
The algorithm is just like ding,
ding, ding, ding, ding. Yeah.
You reach in to get like a screwdriver or something. You come back and there's 2 bites, and it's like, no,
not
they
again.
got me. Now I got to join InfoWars. And if you hear all this stuff and you say to yourself, you know what, between the madness of some guy killing his children because they have serpent DNA and, the pandemic and all that stuff, I'm ready to leave it all behind. As Krista says, time to go live in the woods. Well, this man, he wasn't just talking it, he was living it.
River Dave doesn't think he can go back to being a hermit. So he was a hermit for a long time, and then he was like, you know what, I'm kind of tired of this.
81 years old.
What a legend.
He's done pretty good.
But unfortunately, tragedy struck recently, and
his house burned
cabin.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow, that must suck. Did he build that from scratch? I bet he did.
He did everything himself, yes.
That's sort of, and he probably did that when he was a young man, and like trying to do that amount of labor to get a home up again when you're 81 is just...
But that's not what's stopping him, Krista. What's stopping him is, it turns out, maybe he never owned the land after all.
Oh, he was squatting.
Ooh.
And...
That's actually okay if he squatted that long.
Well, no, because the guy that owns it is 84.
Oh.
And so something is going to happen with this land very soon. At least in the next 20 years, right? So
maybe that's why that burnt down.
Well, there are some people who are saying that the 84-year-old might be responsible for the fire. But it seems like the firefighters at this point think it, because there was some construction going on there. They were making some changes to it. I think they might have been trying to take it apart. I didn't really follow that part of the story. But they did have some power tools out there. Yeah. So he's saying that he doesn't think he'll ever be able to go back even to live on his own again because the world has kind of got their hooks in him right now.
Well, and good luck finding land that's not outrageously expensive.
There is, I think there's like a church group that's like one of these separatist group, and they have a little piece of land somewhere, and they're offering to let him throw a shack up there.
Oh, I thought it said they had a cabin, that there was a cabin that he could have.
The Quakers. Maybe it was a cabin. A Quaker meeting not far from the cabin site. That's his cabin.
Oh, okay.
Worked on the meeting. Oh, they've got a meeting house.
Yeah. It was in 2010. Yeah. So he'll be fine, probably.
Hopefully.
That's a pretty amazing run. Imagine going that long, getting to 81 and not needing a doctor.
Yeah, that's impressive. Good for him.
You're going to have to plan better.
Maybe I should be living. Although, imagine how clean his diet was.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he might have still been going to the store, but it probably wasn't very often. He might have been gardening out there too.
No, he said he raised all of his own food.
Wow.
And one of the things that like he's really worried about and that they've finally agreed to let him go back onto the land for is to get his cats and chickens.
That's good. Well, it probably had a lot of eggs and a lot of chicken-derived stuff because that's easy to grow and easy to, deal with.
Now, I'll tell you what, though. River Dave, if you're out there listening and you're not going back to your hermit lifestyle, let me set you up a YouTube and a Twitch channel, sir. We're going to make a lot of money. Yeah.
Teach us your wisdom.
I want a video of introducing you to the air fryer.
Or you can do an entire reaction channel with just Dave. He's never seen any of it.
No, I want Dave to teach us, like, how did he garden enough food every season?
We'll do that. Dave is a fountain of content.
Yeah.
A never-ending fountain. The only problem with Dave is he's going to be dead soon.
I wonder if he has Social Security. And if not, it's like, hey, here's your free money.
Really old.
Would he have ever paid into it?
I think that even if you don't pay into it, you get the minimum.
I don't know. Did he have a use for money? I'm sure he had to buy some stuff, right?
Or like tools occasionally. Like, you can have a really nice garden hoe, but eventually, like, it's going to need repairs or sharpening or something, and like you can't do all of that yourself.
Sounds like we need to learn more about Dave.
Yeah.
Well, going from a shining example of a human being to one of the lowest.
Man accused of tattooing child inside a fast food restaurant.
I have a lot of questions.
There's a lot of questions.
And the question that never gets answered, what was the tattoo?
Yeah.
They didn't say?
What would you tattoo if you had to tattoo
Grimace.
your child? You think it was McDonald's related?
Yeah, it was McDonald's. I was almost certainly, scroll down, it's almost certainly McDonald's, right?
No, it was in a McDonald's. We know that much.
See, they said fast food in the headline, but everyone knew.
Yeah.
McDonald's.
And in the front dining area. So he was like multitasking his lunch, but it's like, yeah, I got to eat, but I also got to get this tattoo done. I promised him.
It'd be funnier if it was one of the old McDonald's that still had the ball pit. He was tattooing him in the ball pit.
Come to Dave's Ball Pit Tattoos at your local McDonald's. It's like, are they on board with that? Yeah, that's fine.
What's that wetness on my sock? Someone peed in here earlier. Don't worry about it.
So 2 charges, illegal tattooing and tattooing of a person under 18 years of age. Where's the child endangerment?
Yeah, because if you do that with like a bad needle and in a dirty environment like a fast food restaurant, or open yourself up to an infection.
Even a perfectly sterile, beautiful tattoo on a child.
Yeah.
The child cannot consent to such things.
Well, that's probably why they had the under 18 part, but...
Hong Kong is introducing several new laws and clearly focused on making sure that people don't say or do certain things.
Hong Kong to outlaw acts desecrating the Chinese flag on the internet.
This isn't really Hong Kong doing this, is it?
Well, what do you mean, Krista?
I'm implying that maybe Hong Kong doesn't make its own laws anymore.
Do you think the mainland government has some control there?
No.
Well, they have control over the mainland for sure, and they've made some laws there as well.
China to ban karaoke songs with illegal content that endangers national unity. 50,000 venues will be encouraged to provide quote-unquote healthy songs rather than those threatening territorial integrity or religious policy.
So based on that, would you have any idea what to leave out?
Yeah, don't talk about Hong Kong.
Are there a lot of songs about Hong Kong?
Declare Independence by Bjork, out.
Engagement challenge. What are the best songs that would get caught by this filter? That's what I want to know. What tracks?
WAP? Would it get caught? I bet it would.
Probably would.
National Unity.
I was thinking it would be Chinese language stuff, but Western stuff.
Yeah, a lot of Western stuff.
Yeah. Wonder if that was a phenomenon in Asian countries.
I don't know.
They had to be aware of it, right?
Probably.
I mean, if Psy is that popular here.
Yeah, well, and there's all the others like Blackpink and stuff like that. K-pop's really exploded here in the last couple of years.
When I bought my parents that Fire TV, I was showing them how to use the Alexa remote. And I was like, Alexa, play the #1 song in America right now. And it was Butter by BTS. And the looks on their faces.
I was just like,
what? Because that's K-pop, right? Or something like it.
It seems like K-pop groups are always like just random initials. So maybe I haven't heard that particular song.
Well, I love to do these stories about homes that are just priced completely irrationally. And it just gets worse and worse as we spiral into hyperinflation.
Burned out Bay Area home lists for $850,000 and offers are rolling in. Now, this makes perfect sense to me. If you're acclimated to what you're going to pay for a house, this is fine because you can build the house to be whatever you want. The cost of building a house on this $850,000 lot is a tiny fraction of the lot. So if you get the lot, you can build the house to be exactly what you want it to be. And that's a very small cost compared to the actual space.
And then you can sell it to a Google employee
for
like
1.5
5
million.
times the amount. Yeah. Beautiful, beautiful plan. Well, R. Kelly's made some bad decisions in his life. I think it's safe to say. Most of them have to do with sex. Not a surprise if you look at the topics of his music. I mean, he was the warning signs were always there.
The warning signs.
But when you have really, really well-paid lawyers, sometimes they'll make some outlandish claims just because what else can you say?
R. Kelly claims that herpes is not an STI and asks for the charges to be dropped. And their lawyers are saying that, well, the New York State Department of Health doesn't define that in such a way that that's what that is, so...
When did we go from STD to STI? Is there a difference?
Disease versus infection, I guess so, because so many can be cured now. Maybe that's why they call it an infection.
But the argument here is that things that can be cured, like gonorrhea and syphilis, do count, whereas something that can't be cured, like herpes, is not. Also, get ready for this.
I was getting ready, but we've lost the passage. Say anything.
It's worth
they're
it.
Listening.
It's worth it. You guys talk about something else.
R. Kelly song
Hot
stuff.
and fresh out the kitchen. Mama rolling that bot. Okay.
All right, here it is. You ready for it? Okay, so R. Kelly is in prison right now, right?
Yeah.
When you go to prison as a celebrity, you can be a bit of a target. You might come across people in prison who you just can't reason with. So just imagine yourself in this scenario, right? Maybe you get in a traffic accident and kill somebody, right? And then like the case just doesn't go your way. You end up in prison, and one day you cross this man.
Oh.
He is he's a member of a gang. I think it's MS-13 or something like that. Latin Kings. I'm sorry, sir. Latin Kings. He stabbed R. Kelly with a pen a couple of times.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you think that pen had any ink in it after this?
They might have emptied it out first. And dumb foods is another headline that I will always put in the nonsense section. Sounds disgusting, but they say it's amazing.
Pumpkin spice cup noodles to hit Walmart shelves this October. So pumpkin spice ramen noodles, basically.
Is it? So I'm thinking like, is it going to be like Thai noodles, like pumpkin Thai, where it's like got curry and stuff in it, so it's spicy?
I'm going to expect pumpkin spice latte in noodle form.
Well, but no, you'd be wrong. They're not going with a broth. This is a sauce, so it's like a thicker pumpkin spice.
But surely it's spiced, like spicy, like it's got Asian spice in it, like a pumpkin
horrifying.
soup.
I don't know. You can find out.
Because you can do savory pumpkin stuff. It's not as common here in the States, but maybe this would be okay. If I find it, I'll buy some and we'll try it.
Well, it's going to be at Walmart. I'm sure it'll be everywhere, right?
I mean, I don't go to Walmart, but if I see it at the regular store,
You can make a special trip for that, Krista.
and then we'll try it on the news.
Replace an orange
for
soda
October.
day.
I can start decorating the office again because I'm here. Wendell, your favorite. We're gonna have spider webs all over the set.
Oh, we can recycle the snow. Well, you say you'll be here, Krista, but will you?
Yeah, I guess we'll see how the incidence rate goes up.
Because you know they're always waiting. I'm not talking about that.
Oh.
I'm talking about this.
Black hole burps may help determine their size. Look at how ominous that photo. What a great stock photo.
Well, it's not a photo.
It's a really interesting way to describe the phenomenon, but black holes emit Hawking radiation and X-rays when they consume a bunch of stuff, and based on the size of that burp, we may be able to infer how big the black hole is.
If it's a massive one, it's a massive black hole.
Super massive, in fact.
What a great photo.
Krista, it says when you think about black holes, you probably don't tend to wonder if they're hungry. Something tells me you do.
No, they're always hungry for my blood.
And your limbs.
They're
Which
spiraling through space looking for human flesh.
And this one, when I saw the headline, I thought, yeah, right. Yeah, sure, it's going to look like that. I bet it looks nothing like that. I'll be damned.
A research vessel found SpongeBob lookalikes a mile under the ocean's surface.
Get ready for it because it is fantastic. And
are you ready, kids?
And there's a starfish, a pink starfish.
Oh. Yeah, that's...
That is actually incredible. I saw that image and I was like, surely that's Photoshopped, but it is actually a yellow sponge.
Amazing. Now, the guy who captured this did have a little bit of a bummer to add at the end of it, and that is that these, in nature, these are not friends, and most likely that little starfish is going to be eating the sponge.
Oh.
Very shortly.
You know, if I had to put, like, which character would eat the other, I would say Patrick Star would eat SpongeBob.
But
so that makes sense.
There's a little bit of hope. The brightly colored yellow might mean that it's very, very poisonous. So they can both die.
Fantastic.
Excellent. A suicide pact. Let's teach kids that.
When I saw this article initially, like, I just saw an ocean. I thought this was going to be the story about, there was a video of the Mariana Trench, and there was, like the thing exploring it. And it was like, look at all these cool rocks. And then there was just a piece of like frozen Disney-themed trash floating through the water. And I was like, oh.
What was the intellectual property?
It was Frozen. Like it was Elsa.
When you say Frozen.
Yeah,
okay.
no, it wasn't that the merch itself was frozen. It was just like a doll from Disney, just floating in the Mariana Trench. And it was like, wow, that's so sad.
Yeah, the ocean garbage thing is
very
really
depressing.
staggering.
If there was an Atlantis, they would have already probably nuked us.
They're all down there with those
things around their necks.
soda tabs.
Yeah.
They're all just dead. Yeah. Just a bunch of skeletons with soda tabs wrapped around their necks. All right.
Well, that's it. On that note,
Well, thanks for joining us for another week of the news. We'll see you next week.
it's almost, what was it, September?
Oh,
It's
no.
almost September.
Please no.
The end of Juggust is upon us, and we're going into September.